And welcome to the Computer Games Show. My name is Sean Bell. I am joined by Matthew Murray.
Hello.
James Farley is still on holiday. I think he's actually having an all right time now, isn't he?
Yeah,
Matt?
he seems to enjoy it much more than usual. Yeah.
Yeah. To ease the transition, however, we've got into the guests that we've got this week. One of them is still called James, but he is James Carter from Cane and Rinse.
I will answer to James though, if that helps.
We'll just call you James, and everyone will get confused. It's fine.
Absolutely.
And on top of that, we thought we'd go for a full-on invasion. We've also got Darren Gargette.
With the other idiot. Here I am. Hello. I'm waving at the laptop, but it still doesn't work. Doesn't matter how many times I try.
As is customary, because obviously, normally you do Cane and Rinse where you're not allowed to swear. Is there anything you want to say now?
Oh.
Get it out your system.
I have just been listening to the Prodigy, so I'm ready to swear. I just don't know when it's going to pop out, right? I am aggro to the top of my head. So yeah, be careful.
Do you guys not even swear on like the Patreon exclusive podcast? I assumed
we're not invited on
That's
that.
what the extra time is, yeah. They get it down to 2 hours by just taking the swears out.
No, it is quite a thing now. Like you just get into the groove of not swearing. It's quite easy not to swear, and once it's all set, like the environment's set by the host, So if he doesn't swear or she doesn't swear or whatever, then generally we don't swear. But if one of you two let off a little fart or a little, you know what I mean, we are going to start swearing. So it's up to you two, really. You got to set a standard.
We're not forcing you to do it. I mean, there isn't like a minimum quota of C words you've got to hit tonight.
We'll see.
It's funny, isn't it? Because you think, like, going into a Cane and Rinse recording, you sort of think to yourself, like, oh no, this is going to be really difficult. But actually, all it means is you just don't start every other sentence with fucking ... And it's like, it really doesn't cost you anything to not swear, but I can't help it.
Sometimes you just can't help it.
Yeah. Housekeeping. This bit will be relatively short this week because we've already had our live show at Rezzed last week.
We did.
We did. It went pretty well, I thought. I mean, we just basically, obviously, Dave came on stage and we just let him, like, basically, spread his feathers out and, trot around the stage for about 20 minutes. Just, he slagged us off and all the episodes done without him.
You respectfully stood back, let him have his moment in the limelight again.
Yeah, well, why not? It was going to happen, wasn't it? But no, it was a really good day. It was fucking knackering. I think we're not going to try and do that in one day in future, are we? I think
it's tough. And as you said, and as we've said, like we've been to Rezzed before, and it feels like you could probably get around everything in a day, but actually doing that is much harder than it seems. It's much nicer to take 2 days to cover the whole thing rather than like getting up ridiculously early, rushing around. Then you got a show at 4 o'clock, so it was a bit of a mad rush. It was great to go again and great to the live show, but it was well knackering.
Yeah. But it was a really good day, and obviously thanks to everyone that showed up for it. It was, I'm pretty sure, I think we filled the room, more or less. There was like a couple of seats at the back, maybe.
A couple of chairs here and there, but thanks to everyone who came to the show. Thanks to everyone who came to the meet afterwards in the miniries. It's awesome to see everyone.
It was. I had, in the miniries, I had a Hunter's chicken pie, which was a lot.
Was that your highlight of Rezzed?
No, not really. It was just like I don't really know what I expected. It turns out when you got a dish that is like a chicken breast with like bacon and cheese and barbecue sauce, it turns out then encasing that in pastry is a step too far. I mean, I think I enjoyed eating it, but it was a lot to deal with.
Well, how's that? I mean, that sounds like all the best things, and then anything encased in pastry is even better. So I don't see how that could be an issue.
I enjoyed myself. I think it slowed me down for a bit afterwards.
It was quite a talk. I mean, you were sat like nearish the entrance of where we all sat, and no one could go past you without saying, "Is that a massive pie you're eating?" And you're like, "It's Hunter's chicken pie. It's a Hunter's chicken pie, everyone."
Yeah. It was quite a talking point of the night. Yeah. I should have just brought that out on stage when we did the show and just been like...
We could have bought a second one and put that in James's chair.
Oh, God, yeah. That was a thing a few people picked up on. So we left an empty chair on the stage.
Yeah, we didn't mean to. It's just the way.
No, it wasn't like a funny joke. We just we didn't get into the room until about 10 minutes beforehand, and because we had to set up the stuff with like the video for James's bit and stuff, we were worried about that. And so we just ended up leaving this extra chair on stage.
This is the sort of stuff that Dave gets irate about. That's a perfectly good joke you made, whether or not it was accidental. And here you are, just winding it back.
Dave's currently listening to this. I don't say anything, won't it?
It does sound something like Frank Sidebottom would do, just leave a chair just ominously just sitting there. Even if it's a joke or not, like you say, it's just there and then someone will pick up on it. Yeah, you've ruined it.
I hadn't picked up on it at all. It wasn't until Farley seen a video saying, did you empty chair me? I was like, oh God, we did. That was on stage.
Not on purpose, but why not?
So your Pi, in terms of controller size, what would you liken it to? Like an Xbox Duke?
It was Duke size, yeah. If you took the Duke and made it more, it was like square. It was like Duke proportions.
Nice,
it was ludicrous. Sorry, I said this bit would be short, didn't I? Streaming every week. We stream computer games for a small amount of money. Farley's not here, as we've mentioned. But yeah, every Sunday Matt is streaming Bloodborne at 8:30, and then every Tuesday I'm streaming a random indie game at 9 p.m.
Sending me to sleep every week. Cheers, guys.
Is that in a nice way?
That is a compliment, honestly. I'm well into these streams, right? I'm all over it, and I love the little chat that goes on. But at some point, I know it's going to send me to sleep. Usually when Matt's like on his 15th death on Bloodborne, I'm just like, okay, he's going for the same bit again. Or when you've just got into your...
Bloodborne isn't a relaxing go-to-bed stream. I mean,
mate, you don't know what I'm doing just before it. And then it's when us lot get into the chatty bit during an indie game where we've kind of gotten over the initial, hey, it's a new indie game kind of thing. And then we're just chatting, and it's all just like, breeze talking and stuff, and then that's when I just drift off to sleep, and it's great. And then the phone's really hot next to my head, and I think one day I'm going to get some sort of cancer.
It does seem to be a thing with my streams that after sort of half an hour in, everyone's basically just chatting amongst themselves.
Yeah. Especially the one with the matchstick man weeing.
20 minutes of working out what the mechanics are, and okay, once everyone's understood, they go back to the conversations whilst Sean's playing.
Yeah, it's a social occasion more than anything
else. But
else.
also, you do have you appear to have chosen games every week where there's always at least one good track in the soundtrack. And so
that's true.
This is a great one this week as well, isn't it? Yeah.
If you've been enjoying the streams, or even if you're not watching them at all, but you would like to support us, you can subscribe to us on Twitch, which you can either do by paying money, but hardly anyone does that, which is fair enough, because if you've got an Amazon Prime account, that means you also have Twitch Prime, which means you can subscribe to one channel for free, and it might as well be us, because there's no one else on Twitch. It's just us at the moment, so you might do that. It's fine.
Yeah, it's absolutely dead on there. It's just us, just everywhere. Going every category, it's just us at the top.
Yeah, it's nice to support an up-and-coming platform, really, isn't it?
It is dead on there.
Yeah. Right, feedback, man.
Let's get into it. Yeah, we obviously had loads of positive feedback about the live show. I'm not going to read all of it, but thanks for all the messages and people saying they enjoyed it, and also those who weren't able to make it, but they've seen the whole thing, which we recorded on my phone, and the whole thing is up on our YouTube channel. So if you weren't able to come and see it live, or you haven't already heard it, then please go to our YouTube channel and watch the whole thing live on stage. It's well worth it for I mean, I'm not going to spoil it. Just watch it if you haven't already. I'm sure you know what happens. Anyway, Adam Turner tweeted, 20 minutes in, oh my god, David Turner is your legend. The real main one returns. All the team has seemed to have picked up their game. Awesome. It's like,
thanks, mate.
Look, we've been picking up our game for weeks. And I mean, if anything, we're all quite tired on that day. So if anything,
I was going to say, I was fucked. So. Yeah,
and James picked his game up by not being there and
by
being
leaving.
distracted by loud noises around him all the time, which was
exactly. Picked his game up and took it to Shanghai, mate. That's
yeah. I mean, there was slightly less complaining from James, only slightly, but yeah. Stansel, hi gents. Great show, Rezzed. Very funny stuff. I hope you enjoyed it too. There's one particular moment, however, that made an enormous impression on me. While Dave was adding his witty commentary to James's news segment, I finally realised who it reminds me of. None other than the great Bob Mills of Games World fame, who also presented In Bed with Mortimer, pronounced Me Dinner, a show in which he would pause TV footage and take the piss out of it in a genuinely lovable but arrogant manner. Not only does Dave have a similar comedic tone to Bob, he has a similar voice, and with no offence intended, he is also a man of 1,000 rubbery faces. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I do agree. Yeah. This got me thinking about all the rest of the TCGS crew and their potential resemblance to minor late 90s British celebrities. All the best, Dan.
So I'm not familiar with this guy. The rubbery faces thing, I assume that is a reference to Dave's ability to alter his face rather than calling him fat, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
okay, good. Gurning and the like, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with Bob Mills.
No.
Any of you? No?
No.
I mean, I hadn't even heard of Gamers World, in all honesty. When I heard that, I was like, "How?" I mean, when I googled him, I recognised him because he'd been on 1,000 of those of I Love 1984 like panel, you know, shows where they watch clips and that, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I've seen him in. I haven't actually seen or heard of Games World. But yeah. But now I'm going to look out. Next time is I Love 1992. I'm gonna.
You'd be there.
I'm gonna look
Dave's
out
on the telly.
I'm going to look out for that. I can't see any sort of resemblance to any other like minor late 90s British celebrities. I mean, maybe...
No.
Yeah.
No, me neither. I can't remember enough of them, to be honest.
When I think that, I just think Andy Crane.
I mean, he's more late 80s, early 90s, isn't he?
Yeah, probably.
Which one's Terry Nutkins?
Most of them guys have loads of hair, so I'm instantly out.
That's true. Yeah.
So you're Terry Nutkins then, right?
Yeah, I'm Terry.
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm getting there.
Actually, I'm definitely Nutkins, yeah.
Oh, fuck it, I'll be Michaela Strachan then.
Absolutely, yeah. Last week, obviously, so on the live show, we mentioned the Epic Game Store, because that's just something that we keep mentioning every single week. And
this is a recurring thing, isn't it?
It really is. And I asked the audience and said, I've heard lots of people saying it's anti-consumer. How's it anti-consumer? Anyway, Chris Ban at CS87 was tweeted in, "Hiya, exclusives of any form are to some extent anti-consumer, but in most cases these games are then available from multiple stores who can and will compete on price. The Epic Store is literally the only place you can buy X game, and thus they control the price. However, console exclusivity is often to do with the hardware manufacturer funding the production of the game, whereas Epic seem to be swooping in right at the end of development and snapping up games like a greedy pelican." I think Alan also piped up saying that, she's also told us countless times, and we've also read that out countless times.
I was going to say, I feel like we've said this. Forgot. But no, I understand Chris's point of the difference between, just a shop on the PC selling the game, and, as he says, like often if, especially with indie games, if it's a console exclusive, that usually means the console manufacturer has paid up somewhat. But then, is that not the case with Epic as well?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's after the fact, isn't it? It's like Rise of the Tomb Raider. Microsoft bought exclusivity to and got a lot of stick for that, which would kind of illustrate the point if Nintendo didn't get stick for funding Bayonetta 2. I mean, they literally paid for the game to be made. And still
that's
got
the difference
stick over
between like, we'll give you millions of dollars to put this thing that you're already making just on our console versus... this game simply will not get funded unless we put those millions in. Do you know what I mean?
A slight counterpoint to kind of the notion of controlling the price is Metro Exodus ended up on Epic Game Store for $50 instead of $60, which it had been to pre-order on Steam. So
really? So
there are some cases, I've cherry-picked a case there where I can think of where it was cheaper. They literally said they were passing on the savings they would make in terms of developer cut or the extra money they would get. They were passing that on to the consumer. So it doesn't always work out that being able to fix the price makes it more expensive.
Yeah.
It's caused issues at the moment with like things like Metro Exodus, where it was already come out on Steam and then it got switched. I guess that's because of the fact that these deals are being made late in the day, because obviously Epic Game Store's only been around for the last a few months, but I guess in the next 6 months, these things aren't going to straddle the stores like they are now, causing issues. It will just go straight to Epic Game Store, and I don't know. I mean, I can see why people would call it that, but I mean, sure. I mean, Yeah, I'm not going to get into it because I'll say the wrong
So
thing.
we're just going to repeat ourselves, aren't we? Yeah.
I haven't got the brain power for this. This and the other hot topic of the games industry. I haven't got the brain power to read the same guff again and again and again. Like, come on, let's just move on to a different topic. Can we start hating Anthem again? Is that fine? Can we go back to that
I'm
one?
sure the news, don't worry about
that'll
it.
be there.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Even in Farley's absence, that's still coming up, don't worry. Speaking of the other topic in the industry right now, Rowan has emailed in, "Hello lads, I played previous Soulsborne games and I've always summoned them for bosses where possible, and I've also appreciated the ability to participate in some jolly cooperation, particularly the option to help out other people and get in-game rewards and a sense of accomplishment from helping a stranger in need." Oh, this is about difficulty in games.
Oh no, this is the other topic. Oh.
Calm down. I want a good 50. I want.
Honestly,
our
Slack has been full of this all day, and I just went, I can't do this again. I can't. Friends arguing amongst each other, like, stop it, just leave it, put it to one side. We can't fix these games. What can we do that can fix these games? Nothing. We can just sit here and watch From Software be From Software, and that's all we can do. I don't care. I've had enough. Stop it. Sorry. I'm sick of it.
I was going to say, do you want to let Matt read the email first?
Darren, I'm currently 15 hours into Sekiro, and I've done the first two main bosses. At first, I bemoaned the lack of multiplayer and struggled with the game. However, the overall aesthetic and magnificent moment-to-moment gameplay kept me coming back. I've just done the second boss and haven't gone up against him for getting on for 4 hours. The feeling of finally mastering him and beating him was unrivaled in games. I appreciate the argument that some games should be accessible, but there's a very specific feeling that From Software want you to have, and it's only possible to get that from the relentless difficulty of the boss encounters and the requirement to learn them. If given the option to summon or make the game easier, I probably would have taken it and robbed myself of the wonderful sense of achievement from overcoming a seemingly impossible obstacle. I think there's a market for these games and that they benefit from their specific design choices. Whilst not for everyone, I'm glad they exist. And
I mean,
in case of From Software, I absolutely know what you mean. I mean, I was doing my Dark Souls stream. I struggled with Honesty and Smoke for 8 hours, and eventually summoned, and it totally robbed me of the amazing feeling I've had since killing other bosses. It definitely robs you of that. And From Software games are a special sort of breed in that the immense satisfaction you get from defeating and learning enemy patterns and how to defeat them and eventually overcoming the obstacles and doing it is unrivaled in games, personally.
I mean, yeah, but equally, like, I summoned loads and cheesed a few of the bosses in Dark Souls. I still recognise it as like one of the greatest games of all time. Like, I don't know, like, maybe it's different because I wasn't there for the feeling of overcoming the bosses. I don't know. Yeah.
So, brace yourself, Darren. I apologise.
I'm going to put my microphone on mute and I'm going to go for a poo, okay? see you in about 2 hours.
I told you to have 2 poos, but okay.
So, Rowan took 4 hours to beat this second boss. I guarantee there are people who could not beat that boss at all. I guarantee there are people it took 8 hours. I guarantee there are people that first timed that boss. Mm-hmm. Because since having beaten that boss, what I do is I watch some of the playthroughs of people who play From Software games, like speedrunners and stuff. I watch them after the bit of the game I've got up to in order to be able to see how other people did it, what stuff I missed, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I have seen people like second try this boss. Like, it literally took them 5 minutes to do this boss. Therefore, they didn't have to struggle to overcome that. And FromSoft have failed in what Rowan says they're stated. Like, I'm extrapolating here, Rowan, for illustrate. I'm not trying to string you out here. People get different amounts of resistance and different difficulty from FromSoft, the way their games are, with the kind of flat difficulty that everyone has to overcome. And equally well, if there were options to make the game I'm not even going to say easier, but to adjust the skill level required in terms of button press precision, in terms of timing, stuff that people might struggle with, identifying moves that enemies are doing. Some people can't pick up visually quick enough to be able to respond to a move. All that sort of stuff. Any one of the myriad ways in which games can be difficult. there are people for whom, if they adjusted that stuff to make it for what me or for what Rowan might be a bit easier, they would still have that sense of achievement. There are then still other people who don't want the same sense. Their sense of achievement comes from exploration, understanding the game. It's not a mechanical overcoming of combat mechanics and of difficulty in the combat. Maybe they should be allowed to take away from the game what they want. After all, as much as I'd like to have a go at him for saying it, Ebert talked about the fact that games couldn't be considered art because the player has too much to do with the experience. Well, another way to look at that is the player and the developer together create the art, even if it's asymmetrical or it's at different times. So the developer sets something up, the player plays it, and together that crafts the art. Well, that can be different things for different people. And it can also adapt to different people's abilities and what they want to get from the game, etc. Good example, I think, Burnout Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
To what you said, Matt, I think if the ability to restart an event, which wasn't in the game at the beginning, had been there, I worry that I would have restarted the event and it would have ended up playing more like a traditional Burnout game. Whereas what happened was I couldn't restart the event, so when I got to the end of an event and failed it, I was way over the other side of the map. I picked a different event and I started to learn the map. My experience, my enjoyment came from my doing that. And I might not have if I had the ability to restart instead. However, when we talked about it on Kane and Rinse, everyone else on that crew that we're talking about on the issue that we covered it on, everyone else said, no, I wanted that restart option there from the beginning. So who am I to be precious about my experience and worrying that I wouldn't have the integrity to protect my experience, even if it makes the game slightly more difficult for myself, at the expense of other people's experience?
Yeah, totally. And I get what Rowan's saying, but the point is, for me, is that adding an easy mode, it's not a choice between everyone who's playing it on normal is enjoying it this amount, and then if I was to play it on easy, you'd enjoy it a bit less and it wouldn't be the same. It's like, no, the absence of an easy mode means I'm not going to play it.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm not willing to I haven't got that time to put into it.
Yeah.
So it's, it might not be perfect, lowering the difficulty in whatever ways they could, but it's better than nothing. So yeah. Anyway, can we never talk about this again?
Yeah,
there's another question about it. Go on.
No. I mean, I think we can talk about it again. But CSA 7, Chris spans back. When will Sean admit he wants the government to force From Software to add the easy mode to Sekiro?
Fucking libertarians, man. No, Chris. Right. What I'm saying is, I'm not forcing them to do anything. I'm just saying,
you want to be in someone's
more
manifesto, don't you?
Yeah, I'm saying if they want to sell more copies, they should add an easy mode. Free market, baby. That's how it works.
and if they don't want to, that's absolutely fine. I'm not suggesting they should have to. But Activision, From Software, should learn to put up with this kind of criticism. And maybe they're fine with that. Maybe they're absolutely happy and that's cool. That's their decision. Of course it is.
Darren has actually gone, hasn't he?
I think he probably has.
I just realised.
Unbelievable.
That wasn't a funny joke.
As a guest.
Imagine. Yeah, that's pretty rude. But
we can say whatever we want now at this point. Yeah. Have you got any stories about Darren, James, that we can just quickly get out of it before he comes back?
I just heard Darren do a mouth fart, so I think he's still here.
Oh, that was him. Okay.
Darren?
Always watching, like a ninja. Like a shinobi, one that's run away for the 20th time against a flipping general. That's me, that is. Hiding in the tree.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to end this feedback section with Sean doing a full and frank apology for what can only be described as abhorrent racism on the previous episode of the show.
I mean, let's not make light of it too much.
No, sorry. Benjamin King has tweeted in. What was that game? Was it Left Behind?
Never Alone.
Never Alone. Sean... Well, I'll read out a tweet. For your information, the term Eskimo is typically considered offensive when referring to indigenous groups. Try to be as specific as possible. In this case, the game tells an Inupiaq tale. Yeah,
no, I'm glad this was brought up because, genuine blind spot for me. I mean, it probably should have occurred to me, given that I've not actually heard the term in years, that maybe people are generally agreed it's not used anymore. And it's been that way for years. So fuck knows how I missed that. But yeah, genuine apologies to anyone that was bothered by that.
The thing is,
pretty
if I was
mortified.
on the ball, I would have corrected you and then been wrong.
Well, I was going to say,
I would have said,
not to diminish my responsibility here. There were 2 other people on that recording, and when this was first pointed out to me, I was like, oh shit, Matt and James must not know either. And then Dave assures me that you do.
Yeah, I mean, if I was on the ball, I would have actually said, "Oh no, I think you mean Inuit," but actually that would have been incorrect as well. So I would have.
That's true. Yeah.
In me correcting you, I would have also got it wrong. But yeah. Anyway.
Apologies.
We're sorry.
Fuck up.
We'll try and be better. That's it for feedback. If you want to leave us any feedback on anything we said or done, anything Sean said or done, it's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. Or you can email podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. James. Oh, no, wait. James, you're now doing the news.
Have any of you guys seen Lucy, the film?
Yes. Yeah.
It's not very good, is it?
No, it's like The Matrix, but not really.
Yeah. Well, you know, so the plot is that Scarlett Johansson takes an overdose of drugs or something, like recreational drugs, and then it makes her use more than 10% of her brain. It's that whole fallacy about how actually we don't use most of our brain.
Is it like Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And she starts getting all these superpowers, and then by the end she turns into like a massive like black goo.
That's right. Yeah.
And then
Sounds hot.
attains like sort of godlike abilities, and then eventually turns herself into a little USB drive.
Sorry, what? I was not expecting it to go there.
Yeah. And then it's.
You know when you said it like Limitless? Kind of.
Yeah.
A little bit. Concept, maybe. And then, execution, not so much.
So, and then it ends with, this basically she's like put all this like godlike knowledge onto a USB drive before she disappears forever because she's gone into a higher plane of existence. I'm going to do that, but with the news. So
we got there.
Oh god, my stomach cramps up every time you start doing one of these. I think, where's it going to go?
Out of anxiety.
I just forgot until about halfway through that's what was happening now. And it was so good.
Right, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has been properly, well, not really, revealed. There's been a trailer for it, but it's a story trailer, i.e. there's no actual gameplay in it. Has anyone seen this?
I have seen this trailer, yes.
It looks fine. I'm happy with the setting. It's all about so you play as a young Jedi Padawan just after Order 66?
Yeah,
it's been called. It's basically exterminate all the Jedi, and you're one of the few remaining. Sure. And it's all about you hiding, basically. Which is they did that tweet that was like, what was the tagline? It was like, "Don't stand out" or something.
Yeah,
which is a weird. It's like that seems to be like a tagline that they're running with, which is a bit odd. But yeah, it's a story trailer, and they just basically confirmed some stuff that it is like a melee combat game. It's story focused. He said, "Oh, there's no microtransactions," and everyone cheered. And it's like, no, you don't cheer that.
Yeah,
that's not. You don't get a medal for that. It's not.
What are EA doing? They're like, look how shit we were before. We're not as shit as we used to be. Buy our game. You're like,
no, they are the defenders of all that is good. No microtransactions and no loot boxes. It's like, no, you did this in the first place.
Exactly.
This is the bare minimum.
Yeah. Guess what? These games with microtransactions and loot boxes, your games.
Those Star Wars games. We're not an EA game. It's bizarre.
It's like going to bed and saying, "I didn't punch anyone today. Hooray! I'm the best." And then going to sleep. It's like, no, you should just be normal. You should just be a regular person every day today. Just be a nice person. Treat people how you want to be treated. This and that and this and that. EA we're not going to mess up our game this time, right? Yeah, and that's probably because Vince Zampella's told you to fuck off. Do you know what I mean?
It's like you guys played Binary Domain.
Oh yes,
I haven't. Obviously, we've heard lots about it.
Very good. Yeah. So there's a bit where a clearly underage girl sort of invites you. I can't remember exactly how she phrased it, but she's like, "Oh, do you want to sneak off somewhere or something?" And you can say yes or no. And if you say no, like everyone in your squad, like their opinion of you improves. They're like, wow, he's not a paedophile. What a stand-up guy. But
what a great guy.
That's what it takes.
Yeah,
my word.
Star Wars. Yeah, I mean, fine. I mean, it's a bit like, obviously it's Respawn. It's not going to be shit, but it's a bit weird they're still not showing gameplay, right?
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I watched the trailer and it got me psyched. Mostly because I've been wanting a decent single player Star Wars game for ages, and this trailer got me pumped up. It had had awesome music. I'm excited to see where they take it. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah,
really excited. I mean, it's a shame there's no gameplay, but this is this. It feels like they're probably going to tease it in the ways in a similar way they're teasing a movie. We'll have this. We'll have a bit of gameplay next month, because it comes out in November, doesn't it? Like 15th of November.
Yeah.
So it's not even that far away. But maybe we'll get like a small 30-second teaser before E3. We'll see gameplay at E3. We'll explore
I think that there's
characters
some
in the
hints
summer.
of gameplay in the trailer as well, isn't there? In the same way,
Yeah, the
kind of
wall
like
running bit.
Yeah,
its
a bit of
ideas,
wall
there's
running and stuff.
wall running, force powers, obviously going to be lightsabers. There's some of that stuff is just default Star Wars, but the fact the character you seem to be playing as, yes, square jawed, dirty blonde, wannabe Hemsworth, whatever, but there's enough there that character's doing that you get some kind of idea. Of what might be involved in gameplay. And wall running seems like a given that's put in there specifically, well, for two reasons, Titanfall and also Apex Legends. The one thing people had to say about it initially was, oh, no wall running. Well, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I sort of hope it does the thing of because the whole point is that you're in hiding and stuff. I hope they make a big deal out of when you first use your lightsaber. I hope it's not level 1 slash up some stormtroopers. I hope there's a real build up to it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, I hope. I mean, I hope they will, but who knows? But no, it's sort of sad that it always takes them to say it's single player only, no microtransactions, no loot boxes, and then that's yes, I can't wait for that, which is exactly how it should be, but it's sad that it took them to announce that for me to get
it's
really pumped.
notable,
It just completely takes away from the fact that it is a new Star Wars game coming, and EA just oh, we're so great, we're actually doing it. You're you haven't cancelled this one, well done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I'm just glad one's coming out at this point.
Just the ego of the company is just ridiculous, man. They're just stampeding over the actual fact that there's a new single player Star Wars game coming out by saying how good they're treating it. It's mate, just get over it. Just release it, and then we'll talk about it. Yeah. I'm excited.
Speaking of evil companies, Activision Blizzard are paying their employees to share their pregnancy data via an app. So this is an app called Ovia, and it's for pregnant women to share information basically about how their pregnancy is going. And for every day that you check in and give it some information about how you're doing, you get $1. Well, you get it via a gift card. And they've done this really weird statement about how great this is, because they're saying, it's really good because it gives us loads of really useful information about how we need to treat our employees and stuff. But then it goes into where is it? I'm trying to find the quote.
The specific, it's very specific.
So this is from, where is he? Vice President of Global Benefits. And he says, I want them to have a healthy baby because it's great for our business experience, rather than having a baby who's in the neonatal ICU where she's not able to focus much on work.
That is...
they make a big deal about the fact that this is totally optional. Fine, because, obviously in a way it's kind of spying, but if it's voluntary, that's good. But it's but have you considered that maybe because maternity leave is absolute dog shit in America, maybe women are doing this just because it's the only way to scrape some cash back for formula and nappies and all the other shit you have to pay out for? It's horrible. It's so weird.
And Gary Dutton's tweet on this was just so on the money. It is you can take all this very seriously, as most soon-to-be mothers do all of the right things, and you can still end up with a baby that is in the NICU.
Yeah.
That's not anything to do with this. So if the takeaway is we want our employees to be healthy, we want to encourage them to be healthy, which comes back to like subsidized gym memberships or encouraging people to get involved with Fitbit and subsidizing Fitbit purchases and stuff like that. There's really, you can see where this comes from a good place.
Yeah.
And then that statement is just the behind the scenes, here's what the people that are putting these programs into place actually think, which is we want to keep an eye on our employees and we want to know what all of their habits are. And it starts to look like really insidious health insurance type stuff where our employees going to be like, here's the positive, you get a little bit of money on a gift card that builds up over time, etc. Where's the negative? Where's the performance review where that subtly ends up influencing that side of things? And it's really insidious, awful stuff, I have to say. And
it really is.
Maybe, I don't know, like Activision Blizzard, it's been said they pay Ovia for info. Maybe that info is anonymized. That would be.
It is, yeah, I believe it is, yeah.
At least then you're not targeting individuals, but you're still shaping employer policy and employee policy based on what comes out of this, instead of thinking what's the benefit to the employees for this.
Yeah,
which could be real. You know, I'm sure there are people that use apps like this, that use all manner of different apps to track health and fitness info, especially around times like pregnancy when that stuff's important. But
yeah, as I say, I just found it really creepy how they're like, hey, it's voluntary and people are doing it, so it must be fine. It's like, yeah, maybe they're just desperate because they're not getting any maternity pay. And like, just, gross.
It's incredibly creepy. I'm sure it's also something quite about, you know, making sure that, you know, they're not checking their emails, but they have got time to check their emails. But I just said, if it's anonymized, they can't even do it on a person-to-person employee basis, thankfully. But it's crazy,
weird. Right, next up. Not really news as such, just a feature that is worth drawing people's attention to. So Kotaku, Jason Schreier has struck again, and he's done one of his in-depth interviewing loads of people at studio to find out what is going on at Bioware. And at the end, the article he's written has ended up titled "How Bioware's Anthem Went Wrong." Now, I haven't read through the whole thing. There is a YouTube version of it if you are short of patience and are stupid like me. Yeah, it's like a sort of
straight in there.
It's like 8.5 minutes.
It's good. When people say it's like a half an hour plus read, I'm like, I haven't got time for that.
It's like 10,000 words or something. Yeah. Which, I mean, fair play to him. Like, I should really just sit down and read it. I always feel bad when people are like, oh, you know, Games Journalism needs more like long read stuff, and I'm like, I'm really impatient.
Just want it in bullet points.
But yeah, so basically, I mean, the key thing, the key takeaways from it are that basically no one felt there was any direction from high up. Like, everyone was so confused about what the game was actually supposed to be. Like, you know, everyone's like, oh, EA just wanted a Destiny clone. Actually, no one knew what anyone wanted. Like, I think EA just wanted another good BioWare game. In fact,
and it was like that for years, wasn't it? It only really sort of came together in the last like year or two.
Yeah, this is basically the game that we're playing now. You know, they keep going on, it's been 7 years in the making or whatever. It's like, well, actually, what we're playing is only about 18 months of work, if that. And they're saying, like, actually, EA deserve a little bit of credit because they fought for things like keeping the flying in, because the flying kept, like, being put in and taken out and put in again, and EA, like, put their foot down. It's like, no, this game's got fucking flying in it because what is it otherwise? And you know, and... even the people who are really critical of the game, such as myself, like that's one of the few things like, do you know what, the flying's really cool. So thank God that did stay in. But yeah, just general lack of direction and the fact that no one at the studio was allowed to talk about Destiny. It's just it was just like a banned subject.
Fuck off.
Just absolutely mad. Like, you know, as I said all along, like if this just ends up being a clone. But with a good story, that would have been fine. And yet now I see how it's not even ended up managing that.
It just sounds like there's someone at BioWare was really jealous at Bungie's success with Destiny. No, you can't talk about it. It's just like, why not?
Instead of just observing and learning from it, I don't know, maybe the logic is that by paying attention to it, they then risk like contaminating their own product. Like, you know, they risk copying it, whereas actually if they remain ignorant, maybe, well, they can't possibly copy it. It's like, yeah, but you can't learn from it either. Like, so I just thought that was absolutely fascinating.
In like tech circles, like John Rubinstein, who's like CEO of Palm, like you know, when Palm were decent-ish like a few years ago, he said famously he'd never used an iPhone. It's like, wow. How can you possibly try and be the best products in your field, in this case like the best game in your field, without actually seeing what people are doing and how you can find like your own spin on it or your own take on it, and learn from their mistakes and see where the gaps and opportunities are.
Just like famously,
we're not even going to mention that, you know, the D word. We're not going to mention that game in the studio. It's like, oh, Jesus, think about it.
No, famously, like the first ever Android phone was going to be, it was like a BlackBerry, wasn't it, with like a little keyboard and stuff.
Keyboard.
And then they saw the iPhone and went like, oh shit, and totally redid it, because that's a good idea.
Another thing, I've obviously heard a lot of people talk about this piece. I haven't read it, but also it was going to be called like was it Beyond for ages and ages and ages, and like very very close to E3 a couple of years ago. They suddenly realised, you know, for whatever reason they couldn't use the term Beyond, so they like pretty much overnight like, okay, well, it's called Anthem, and people were saying like, why is it called Anthem? But what does that mean? It's called Anthem.
There's a really interesting there's a YouTube channel called Skill Up, and I've enjoyed his videos on sort of BioWare stuff in general. He's like really good sort of post-mortem of Mass Effect Andromeda and stuff like that. Like loads of really interesting sort of like really sort of nicely compiled like oral history stuff. But yeah, so he talks about this and how, like, he said he went to Sony for a meeting or something, and he got chatting to someone who worked on the new God of War, and he's like, oh, you know, what was it like working on God of War? And he says, you know what, it was great, because all we ever had to do was when we had an idea or we needed a decision making, we went to Corey Barlog, and he would say yes or no. No. And that was it. He would make decisions, and over time, like, and he had a consistent vision, and everyone started to get it. And it made sense, and it worked. And that is what's lacking at BioWare these days, seemingly. It's just, Sorry, James, you were going to say something.
No, it's just it's a bit baffling, as Matt said, to not look at the competition, because even if your aim is to steer clear of what the competition is doing, to find your own niche and do that, you still need to know where the competition has gaps, where they're not meeting what some of their players want, in order to try and provide something that maybe they do want. And it seems incredibly myopic. And some of this stuff, including, like, it's been kind of on and off said that EA's mandate to use the Frostbite engine is maybe not the best for, say, FIFA or Dragon Age and now Anthem. And like reading some of the stuff in here and hearing about it, it's just, it feels like...
I was thrilled to find out that apparently people internally refer to it as Frostshite.
Like the Frostbite stuff is like really bad. You got to feel for the Anthem team, because apparently they had loads of people in that team who knew Frostbite, but then those people got moved to FIFA because FIFA needed some support, and obviously I guess FIFA's a big money maker. So suddenly the people that were up on Frostbite stuff were just taken out of the team, moved to FIFA instead. Now, like, I heard, reading bits of this, it just, Frostbite seems like an absolute nightmare, and that meant things were taking like hours or days rather than minutes to make changes and stuff.
Like Frostbite didn't have a save system, like a manual save system. So any game that needs a manual save system has to develop that and build it in. And if you take away the people within BioWare who know the Frostbite engine, then all the stuff they learned from Dragon Age Inquisition doesn't get passed on to Anthem. They have to redo all of that work, any work that's kind of shared. But EA and BioWare don't delay the game until those people who were taken off to FIFA can then come back. It's just... It just sounds like I just feel so sorry for the people working on these games and under this sort of stress and restrictions. It sounds really tough.
They're saying because like bugs would take, like simple things would take days or weeks to fix, people would then just like creating little hacks to make it work, and so that would also lead to like other issues when someone fix something else that might screw up one of the hacks they made, and that was like stressful for people. And it sounds like the engine is just that must be horrendous to work in that sort of environment, and people like crying all day every day and going to other rooms to cry. It just sounds like a horrendous project to be a part of, sadly. And for so many people, they probably put the heart and soul into that, but I just felt like it's doomed. It's sad.
Real shame.
It's just the phrase Bioware magic that's been kicking around as well. It's just like,
that was weird.
It doesn't sound magical, does it? It sounds like
when I kept hearing this thing about the Bioware magic, I was like, I thought that referred to like the thing that people get from the games, like there's this like specific type of game they make and a specific sort of feeling. No, apparently the Bioware magic is just like a massive sprint at the end and project where suddenly crunch. Everything makes sense. It's just a really horrible crunch period. So
it will come together
magic.
And using that as a euphemism, an offhand way of just sort of brushing over what actually goes into bringing a game together at the end by just calling it it's the magic. That's really awful.
Yeah,
that's Mr. Tumble, isn't it? The magic. Yeah, the magic. And he sends the fucking bag off. What a great guy.
It's just Mr. Tumble's bag. That's all they brought to Bioware and hoped that would do the job.
That probably would have, to be fair. But
it would so much. It's an absolute. It's a massive piece. But it's sad.
Like I say, I will have to sit down and read it, or you watch the thing on YouTube if you can't be bothered. Right, next. So there's only a couple more. You can finally change your PlayStation ID. Everyone is allowed to do this now, but there's still like issues with quite a few games.
There's a lot of caveats.
Basically, so there's a list of about 40 odd games that have issues. Which sort of can just be things like, your old name might still show up or whatever, or things might not work. And then there are 10 games that have, quote, serious issues, which basically ranges from, like, just might not work at all to, like, it won't recognize your save file because it's like, it thinks it's under a different name, or, like, so you might lose all your progress, you might not be able to play it online.
Jesus.
I mean, the list of serious issues games. Everybody's golf is on there, so that's me out. Onrush is one of them, and like Lord knows that game ain't going to get patched now, so that's that's just going to remain an issue. So over time, like obviously I'm not going to play. I barely play everybody's golf now, but it's nice to know it's still there, and there may come a point where I'm officially not bothered anymore, and I'll be happy to change my name. But I don't really care anymore. Like,
no, I don't.
It's like, even if you have an embarrassing PSN name, like how often does it even come up? Like everyone, because everyone can view each other by their real names now anyway, just once they're friends.
Yeah.
So when I was creating my PSN ID, it said username, but I thought it said surname, so I put in my surname. That's why it's Gargette on PSN. I was like, you idiot. And I wanted to change it to Desmond for ages. And I've just done a Control F on this Eurogamer article, and the Tetris effect isn't affected. So I might go for it. Right. But also, I'm just a bit like, Gargette's all right, innit? I don't really care now. I've got other issues. Do you know what I mean? But it is, it has been a thing people have wanted for absolutely ages, and it's gonna cause a bit of teething problems. And over time, these will, like you say, become lessened because people stop caring about games that are still good, but not relevant in the zeitgeist. So just give it we've waited how many years? Just wait another year.
Yeah.
I guess the difficulty is, are you going to remember that list of games exists when you go back to play, in your case, Sean, everybody's golf in 4 or 5 years' time? Or are you just going to go back and play it? And then there were some of the issues that were happening, because this was around December, wasn't it? Because they said they'd be bringing this in a year and then promptly cancelled the PlayStation experience.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of rushing this out in a kind of beta phase in December. And there were people having issues whereby they then had to change their name back permanently because it was causing problems across loads of games. So I changed, well, I didn't change. I basically created a new PSN ID 2-3 years ago, something like that, and just accepted that all of my PlayStation Plus games and save files and anything I'd bought on my previous name, I was just going to let go and move over to a new one. So when this was announced last year, I was like, maybe could have waited. And then with all of the kind of caveats coming out about it, I was just like, you know what? Probably
sounds
for
quite
the
freeing,
best.
to be honest. Like my Xbox One gamer tag, whatever Desmond, it's got like 600 games attached to it. And whenever I look for the library, I just think, I just don't want to play any of them. I wish I could just detach all my digital games from my Xbox because it's so daunting to look at.
Yeah.
And sure, I'll pick through them and go, no. It's like the Netflix of games, man. It's just like, no, I don't want to watch that. You're
not going to lie, it's a bit liberating to get rid of a load of PS Plus games that I just
it sounds great.
Just added because they were free and just yeah. So you're not going back to Doritos Crash Course, Des? No.
Oh, no, but I did play that. That is the Wipeout kind of thing, isn't it? The old TV show jobby. Yeah, I love that game. It's the best.
Obstacle course type thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Wasn't that an easy 1,000 Gs?
Yeah, now we're talking.
Might have been 200 at the time, but yeah.
Oh, 200, of course, yeah.
Toyota Igo game.
The funny thing about this is that they said, everything after like April 2018 should be fine, but there's even a small print in that they say they can't guarantee it because it really is only as long as the developer has implemented it, but they should have done. But again, maybe not every game will definitely work.
if not to make sure that they do implement this stuff?
Yeah, but I guess they just haven't tested every single game that came out post April 2018.
Yeah,
so
some of it,
it should be safe, it isn't 100% safe.
Yeah, so some of it is like games in the some issues category. Things like Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, and Titanfall 2 are there, and they mentioned that it's like user accounts on the PlayStation may be unlinked from game accounts. So this will be your fucking EA or your Ubisoft shite that you have to link your account with and all that. So it's pain in the arse. So I think I'm probably not gonna bother. Like, is it really gonna kill me that I can't be called Captain Toss instead of Mr. Melanin? I think I'll be all right, to be honest. I think I'll manage.
That's just a sidestep, that is. That's not a step forward. That's just...
Right, a couple of quick ones. Real-life US politician has been banned from EVE Online for alleged corruption.
Brilliant.
Yeah, a guy called Brisk Rubel, who is a Republican, has been he's denied any wrongdoing, but apparently he's been sort of using information gained as part of some corporation he's part of to profit elsewhere in the universe. What makes me laugh about this is that obviously there's this surely he can't be fucking trusted as a politician if he's cheating in the game. He's doing stuff in real life, but actually, isn't it? Isn't it more likely and kind of funny that like we all do things in games that we would never do in real life as like a weird power fantasy or whatever?
Well, notion of escapism, absolutely.
Exactly. And maybe this guy's power fantasy is doing some illicit trading on an online video game.
That's just choosing it.
Not allowed to do this in real life. This is thrilling as fuck.
He's role playing.
Yeah, basically. I don't know. Just thought it was funny.
EVE continues to be completely inscrutable to me. The notion that there is actual trading of shares and essentially stocks within EVE to the point where someone could be done for insider trading, essentially. What is that game? I don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
He's got an incredible name. Like Brisk Rubel. That's amazing.
That is a good name.
That sounds like a Diablo character you go to get some armor or something.
Or like a spell in Oblivion or something.
Brisk. Last one. Has everyone seen Toad getting his dick stamped on?
Yeah.
I haven't. It's upsetting.
So this is
the best.
This was shared on... so this is a Line thing. I don't use Line. I know people who do.
No, it's massive... elsewhere, but it's not really.
It's mainly in Japan, isn't it? So it's basically an instant messaging app similar to WhatsApp or whatever.
So WhatsApp, WeChat, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so Nintendo posted it. You can follow people on it as well, right? I think companies and stuff.
It's WhatsApp on steroids. WeChat over in Asian countries. Obviously, if Farley was here, who know more. But WeChat does everything. I believe Line is sort of in between. Well, WhatsApp does, which is primarily messaging, and WeChat, which is everything. You can literally order anything and pay for anything using WeChat. This is sort of in between, but you can follow people, message, buy stuff through it, all sorts.
Yeah.
It's its own social network as well. It's just a messaging platform, really.
Okay. So Nintendo posted a promotional video for the new Labo stuff, which includes that little foot pedal that, like, as you
Yeah.
press it, it, like, you know, wafts your face. It's got like a fan on it. And there's a short clip where they've made that pedal look like Toad, but he's like, well, a green Toad. And he's like got his arms like behind his head. He's like reclining backwards, and the bit you step on is his crotch.
Yeah.
And there's just this looping gif of him just getting his crotch like pressed repeatedly.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are into this stuff, and more power to them.
Well, didn't someone liken Toad to Donald Trump's penis once? So that was Donald Trump's penis.
Yeah,
and that was the penis of that being stepped on. That's what all I saw, and I was just like, oh my god, that's just a weird, you know.
It's an incredible GIF. It's just
It is.
it's very hypnotic.
I'm saving it for future use, definitely.
Believe it or not, this is going to come up later in this show.
No, good.
I'll just leave it at that. I don't even need to say anything now.
No, I'm already excited to hear what you got to say about this particular thing. Wow,
it's supposed to be sit-ups, isn't it? It's supposed to be doing like crunches or whatever. That's what it's supposed to
look like. Yeah,
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
No,
But it doesn't. It looks
he
like
just
some
looks
sort
really
of...
happy.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at his face. Everyone listening to this, just like stop what you're doing and Google. Well, yeah, just Google the Nintendo's weirdly suggestive Toad promotional video. This is one of your time gifts, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know whether I'd prefer if Nintendo were doing this completely unknowingly, or whether actually they knew exactly what they were doing and just then feign ignorant. I don't know what.
It's got to be the former, surely.
Yeah.
Well, no, but someone in our marketing department or who had a hand in getting us out of there, someone would have said, hang on, come on. We can't do that. And they're like, I'll be funny, let's put it out there, see if anyone mentions it.
Yeah.
See, part of the problem is
now
that
it's gone viral and it's going to help for promotion, so it's win-win for them.
That's true, it has worked overall.
By the time I see this stuff, it's already gone viral and it's already attached to look at someone stomp on Toad's dick, basically. And so it's like that FedEx Arrow thing. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if whether I'd have seen that video just in and of itself, out of any context, whether I would have noticed what was happening. But now that someone's mentioned it, I can't not see that. So
It's kind of a double-edged sword for me, because like this line account, everyone was using it as if like it was common, you know, usage online. Oh yeah, they used a line account. I was like, what the hell's a line account? I don't know what's going on. So I'm aware of it now. And the other
you're
thing
signed up and you're posting.
That's it. Yeah, I'm
You're just posting that GIF.
stepping on my own dick. It's great. It's really easy.
What I found funny was like this line in this Kotaku piece saying this clip of someone seemingly stomping on Toad's whole dick. It's not like someone's kicking with a crotch.
Part of it.
It's like it's Toad's whole dick. It is. His whole dick's been stomped on.
I mean, it really is. Assuming everything's to scale, that is his entire
Well, actually, if it's to scale, he's packing heat, basically.
It's gone too far. It's gone too far.
Because he's not that tall, and if that's the whole thing, Jesus Christ.
Scared. Imagine what's his belly like? Is it just like his head? Is it like spotty green spots on?
Well, we have to mean he's a fucking tripod if that's the case. Mental.
Let's stop the news segment now.
Do we have to?
Yeah.
We're doing James proud here. This is news
probably
of a high caliber.
He's probably so pleased this is going so well without him. Right, what have we been playing? Matt, you've only got one. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, go on. And yeah, I've been playing a PSVR game, and it's called Ghost Giant. Now, this is by Zoink Games. They made Faye, and I haven't played that. Have you guys played it or heard of it?
No, I haven't. It's on sale. It's like 50% off on the Switch at the moment, which, and it's like, that's a bit soon. Was it not very good?
Oh, it's on Switch, is it?
Faye is, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I mean, I'd heard of the title. I wasn't even aware of what sort of game it is, but...
I own Faye, but haven't played it. It's so the artwork's like purple, and you play a little like fox character that's going around and using sound and music to interact with other animals.
Okay. That sounds quite good.
Wasn't it like the next one after Unravel for EA to come out and swing their?
It was, yeah.
It was one of those, the EA
originals.
Yeah,
oh, it is one of them. Okay, that's probably where I recognise the name. Anyway, so Ghost Giant is the one. It's a PSVR game. It's by Zoink Games. You are this giant ghost, and you overlook these diorama style, papercraft style levels. And you, as this ghost, is helping this kid called Louis navigate through life and help him with puzzles and whatnot. It looks, I think, absolutely beautiful. And you as this giant ghost can you can look around these little tiny environments that, as I said, little sort of papercrafty diorama style. You can't freely move around. You're basically locked into one position, but you can obviously lean and you can look into these like little tiny buildings, because all the people in this game are obviously tiny little creatures. But you as this giant ghost can overlook and poke your head in through windows and through walls of buildings and see little creatures going about their daily lives. You can sort of eavesdrop on conversations. You can poke your head through someone's house and see them watching TV in a cute little room. The detail is absolutely fantastic. Even when you're really up close, in his little like buildings, you see like wallpaper and nice little details on the TV they're watching, or like the rocking chair they're sitting on. So actually, graphically, I was really impressed with how detailed it is as you look into these little environments. But you, as the ghost, are there to help Louis progress the story with these puzzles. And I say puzzles, there's nothing taxing at all. It might be finding these little handles around the map, and you can use those handles to rotate buildings to get a better view. Or it might be a case of like pulling blocks up and moving them around the place. There's one bit where you've got to fix some broken stairs, and you have to look around to pick up some wood and fix this. So puzzle wise, it's not taxing at all. And really the very, very small bit of puzzling is only really there just to serve the story, really. It's got a really, really touching story, and for a game, if you look at it, it looks like it's going to be quite a harmless game, but actually in terms of story, it really surprised me in the places it goes. I'm not gonna say much more on that, because I think it's really worth sort of experiencing on your own. But I was definitely surprised with the places that the story goes. I was not expecting that, because on first look, I thought, I've got to measure this game. It's like a nice cutesy game with like nice music and little animal characters. I know what it's going to be, but actually I was really impressed with where the story goes. But I will say, this game, on the surface it looks like it's going to be a game like Moss. Lots of charm, and it's certainly got all the parts for that. But for me, it didn't quite come together and it wasn't anything like as charming as a game like Moss, which I sort of feel bad for Moss, because I know it came out on loads of different platforms and loads of people do love it, but I think PSVR wise, it sort of got overshadowed because it came out in the same year as Astrobot. Right, so when it comes to the end of the year, everyone's like, well, Moss is out and it's amazing, but Astrobot, oh my god. And I do think Astrobot is the better of the two, but Moss was utterly charming with Quill as the little mouse character you were controlling. It did loads of really, really great, clever stuff. And this, I think, it definitely tries to go for that same charming angle. But for me personally, it doesn't quite get there. It's got a nice story. It's got some nice characters with their own interesting bits of dialogue. But for me personally, it didn't quite gel together for me to really, really care about like the characters in this. You do meet a bunch of other characters in these like 8 to 10 environments you go around. But for me, I wasn't really pulled in to each of their stories. I will say technically, it's also a bit. I mean, a mess is the wrong word, but it's definitely challenging at parts, because it's there's a lot of like physics in the world. You can like lift things up and drop them, and you can like pick up balls and like chuck them like basketball hoops and stuff. And there's lots of things to play with and interact with. But I found it really, really difficult to do that. Like, so it's a move controller game. Yeah. So you use both the move wands to pick things up, grab them, throw them. And in each of these levels, these locations, you can find a basketball hoop and a ball to chuck it in. And I found that incredibly hard to actually to find a way to throw that ball accurately into the basketball hoop at the other end of the level. And what's great about these sorts of games and PSVR games when they work well is that things feel natural. And if I pick up this ball and with the controls and let go, I'm going to throw it in a way that I feel that and with enough out of an angle and speed that it's going to go in the ball, but in the net in this case. But it just felt like it's just all over the place, and I didn't really have a good grasp of what I need, how hard I need to throw it, how sensitive it's going to be, and those like tiny little things can really break the immersion.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, because obviously immersion is it's a big deal, even in games that you play on your TV, and it's an illusion that's very easily broken. But yeah, like times 10 when you're playing in VR, like the one time like one of your hands goes a bit jerky or whatever because the sensor's gone funny or whatever, suddenly you're like, oh fuck, oh yeah, I'm playing a game, aren't I? I'm not actually a ghost, or whatever. Like it is huge when just little things like that happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I played so many PSVR games where it's like, oh, hang on, if I do this, I'm like, oh my god, it did the thing that I would have hoped or expected to do, or I just naturally. I'm going to do this action because this is how I would do it in real life, and it works. And those are the things that really surprise you and keep you immersed in the game. Whereas this game, I didn't really get that at all. I mean, so you're looking around these environments. You're stuck in one place, but you can press the circle or square buttons to basically pivot your view for 25, 45 degrees to move around. But and there's lots of things to do in the environment, but it's never really clear about exactly what you can and can't do. There are these gold handles, and if you see it's on gold, you can pick that up, you can interact with it, you can maybe like rotate a building, you can take a roof off a house. But often I was just basically moving my hand around the entire place, essentially like the equivalent of crawling around the edge of a room to try and like interact with anything in a standard game. You can high five or you can like fist bump the Louis and maybe a couple of other characters, and that's like funny or cool the first couple of times, but then he's constantly asking you to do it, and I just like there's some interactivity, but it never does enough personally to like really excite or surprise me in the way that games like Moss and Astrobot did and did really, really well. It's incredibly fiddly at points with like you trying to potentially hold items in one of your hands with the Move controller, use the other hand to do something else. There's like a section with like a fishing rope at one point where it was just going crazy with the physics. I was like trying to like hook things, and it was just I was like losing the fishing rods in the environment. In the geometry of always like shapes and stuff hitting against each other. So it's definitely a bit of a. It's definitely not a mess. It's just not as polished as other games, which have really impressed me in that regard.
Because especially you can like. So I didn't put it on my list because I haven't got a huge amount to say about it. But I finally played the London Heist on PlayStation VR Worlds. And yeah, just the stuff that just works in that. Like, you pick up a cigar with one hand and you're like, if I move it to the other hand and then grab with that one, that works. I can just pass the cigar between my two hands. Stuff like that. That's just like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like if you put in that game, you put a cigar to your mouth, and if you like breathe in or make that sort of sound, it takes it out. If you breathe out, it blows smoke out, and that's like the natural stuff you do. And it's like, it really surprises you and impresses you when that happens. It felt like I was like just waiting to see whether that stuff would happen. It just didn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wasn't guaranteed.
And delight me enough. But I think the story is the best bit about it. The voice acting is quite nice. The characters are quite cute. The environments look really nice and detailed. It only took me like 3.5 hours. And I don't know how much replayability there is. But it's definitely charming, but it didn't charm me in the way that some of these other games I mentioned have. But I mean, it's definitely worth looking at. But
I was going to say, I'm looking at screenshots. I'd be keen to have a go just to look at it in VR. Yeah, like as much as anything else.
I saw some like incredibly high scores. I've seen like 8s, and I think I saw 10, but I think that's on like a very specific enthusiast site. But I've seen. I think the ones that want to get on Metacritic because they're like, it's a 10, or get some reviews and stuff. But I've seen some very. I mean, generally it's scoring 8s and 9s. Okay. I think if the technical challenges I found with it weren't there, maybe I'd rate it in that sort of same spectrum. But it was nice, but it wasn't quite what I'd hoped. Sadly, but. That's mostly what I'm playing. I've been away for the weekend, just played a bit of Bloodborne last week. Still loving it, of course. Did another couple of bosses. Apparently I made like 3 main bosses from the end of the game.
Oh shit.
But I've got the DLC I'm doing, and I want to do the optional ones as well.
There's other stuff to do. Yeah, definitely.
The DLC is horrific, so enjoy that.
It's well hard, man. It's well hard.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So I'm still doing that. But yeah, that's all I've been playing this week, unfortunately.
Cool. Darren, do you want to do yours?
Yeah, let's get my bunch of games out of the way. I've played a lot, and doing these kind of podcasts, you don't really get to talk about games that often. You get to talk about one game every 4 weeks on Cane Events, but here I am with a whole bunch of games. I'm excited. Some of them are obvious because they're going to be rare games. Some of them are quite, new and exciting. So first off, I've been playing Dangerous Driving, Free Fields Entertainment. For ages, they were like, we're going to make a Burnout game, and they didn't. They made a golf game, and we're going to make a Burnout game. And they didn't. They made like a Crash Junction game twice in a row. You're like, what are you doing? Make the Burnout game.
So it is those guys, right, okay.
It is those guys, yeah.
Did you say, did they make 2 of those games?
Yeah, Danger Zone 1 and 2.
Oh, I didn't realise it was a sequel. Wow, okay.
Danger Zone 2 comes free with Dangerous Driving, and it is the most bare bones game I've played for a while. And that's the sequel. Like, the HUD is awful. It blends into like the background. It's just like white text on just the graphics. And if there's a cloud behind it, it doesn't care. It's just like, yeah, there's white text in this cloud. You're like, all right, this is Danger Zone 2. What's going on? Like, it plays okay, but everything around it just feels really, really budget. And they keep harking on in the game and on Twitter and everywhere you speak to Alex Field or whatever he's called. Alex Ward, sorry, not Alex Field. He keeps saying, yeah, we're really small and we've got a low budget. We're like, we get it, mate, we get it. But can we have some HUD? Luckily, in Dangerous Driving, they have just copied Burnout 3 in terms of presentation.
Well, yeah, because I've seen screenshots of like the menus and stuff. It's the same fonts and everything, isn't it?
It's the same. It's exactly the same. And the only thing where it kind of falters is that it hasn't got a soundtrack because they can't afford it. And fair enough. I just pop my own music on or Spotify playlist on and just drive around to that. But it kind of loses a bit of the character. Like when you boot up a Burnout game, it has a flow. Like the music and the audio has a flow to the intro. Like I can still hear the Burnout 2 music in my head because I played it so much. It has a flow and it kind of eases you into the game as like, you hear the noises and you're like, right, I'm about to race. And here it's just a bit like, oh, I've turned the music off because I don't really like the songs, and now it's just empty. And you just feel a bit like...
Because even so from like Burnout 3 onwards, obviously it was all licensed stuff, but there was still a degree of like curation going on, wasn't there? There was a feel
like you can
they
turn
were going
tracks
for.
on and off.
Yeah.
And you can also but even the tracks you don't like, you listen to in the game because it kind of fits the character of the game, if you know what I mean. Like
Girlfriend, Avril Lavigne.
I was going to say, that's a classic example. Like, I listen to that because it makes me laugh, and it's in Burnout Paradise, and so I'm going to listen to it just because it's on, Yeah, totally. Some tracks I do turn off because they do really annoy me, but sometimes I just enjoy a bit of cheese. But this game's got nothing for me in terms of music, so I put my own music on, but it doesn't have that kind of synergy where when you boost, the music fades into the background and you get the adrenaline, and like it hasn't got those features from a Burnout game because it's missing actual musical. Well, it's missing actual music basically. So
it's kind of a bit of music, definitely. Yeah,
that's on par with me calling a thermal air current Snacks of Steam on the Pilot Wings episode last week. I have got baby brain through the roof, and it is mental. So if I start saying words that are wrong, which is most of the time, it's because I'm very tired. Leave me alone. Anyway, yeah. So
you're in good company. Don't worry about
it. Yeah. So it is basically right. They've taken Burnout 2 as a game. They've added takedowns and then copied the whole Burnout 3 HUD. And you think this is going to be great. And for the first kind of couple, for me personally, for the first couple of classes, I've gone through the coupe and the SUV, and I'm now on the third one. I can't remember which one it is. I probably got it wrong, but it's kind of wearing thin already, and I'm just thinking, oh man, I don't feel the pull to come back to it, and I think it's partly because the races go on for like 6 minutes, and you can lose them, but not fairly. It really feels kind of unfair at times. Like it's like Mario Kart 64 when you use a gold mushroom and Wario's still behind you, even though you've got this super mushroom behind, like boosting you forward. They're always that far behind you. Yeah. You don't really feel like, unless you're really lucky, that you're actually good at racing. You just feel like you just haven't crashed enough to stay in first place, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it doesn't really reward the player, from my personal experience, for doing good dangerous driving. And it's an awful name for a game, but if you're going to call it dangerous driving, then at least reward me for doing the dangerous driving by having a good comfortable lead when I'm in first. Yeah. And I'm not saying add a rewind feature like that. I'm all for me losing a game because I've lost the game, but sometimes like the game just absolutely Like the physics are mad. Like I've gone in the air and you get your old air points and your boost for that, but I've landed on top of a car and it's pointed me 90 degrees up into the sky. It's like the physics are mental. Honestly, the physics are mad and it feels really budget. But they've also got it right with the handling's a bit greasy. Like your car feels it's a bit slidey, but when you drift, it feels like Burnout, and that's the reason why I will go back to it race by race over the coming weeks, because every now and again you think, oh, they've got something here. They've really got the essence of Burnout here, but it just misses. It's like super noodles, but you haven't put all the flavouring in. You know, it's just a bit. Oh, it's just not there. Come on, just put an extra bit of salt in there, and it'll be a bit nicer. But Dangerous Driving is just almost there, and I'm glad I'm glad it's here, because, you know, it sets a trend now for that company to do another one. And I know we've been saying this for ages. That company, one day they're going to make a Burnout game, but I just don't feel like this is actually it. And at first it hits you really hard, like, wow, this is impressive, but the more you play it, the more you start seeing the literal gaps in the geometries, and you're like, oh no, man, like it soon falls apart. And
it doesn't even have online multiplayer, does it? They said that's coming out as a patch.
I mean I'm not really bothered by that. Me and Burnout, 2, 3, Takedown, and Paradise, it's all single player for me. I really love just the curated levels and going through them and knowing exactly. Like, I played Burnout 2 so much that I knew the layout of the traffic per course. It's like, right, I'm doing the airport one now. Like, on this corner on the second lap, there's going to be a blue car. I know it. In Dangerous Driving, they don't have that. It's more randomised, and sure, that seems like it's fun in some degree because it's the random element of, you know, the traffic. But for me, like I love Burnout 2 and 3 specifically because I had that whole. Once you get into the mode of Burnout, you feel like you own the road. And I'd never really felt like that with Dangerous Driving so far. It's always been a bit like, well, the cars feel a bit greasy, like someone's put some, WD-40 on my wheels before I've set off. And I just don't know how the traffic is going to react to me, both physically and kind of how it's going to play out. There doesn't seem to be any rules to the traffic. Yeah. Sure, they blink their lights at me when I'm coming towards them or what have you, but they seem really erratic. And like, also the roads, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, but there's 2 lanes of left and there's 2 lanes of right, and obviously, you know, you come towards incoming and all that, but sometimes they're driving, the actual AI traffic are driving on the wrong side of the road, so it really throws you off. And I've seen them like actually collide into each other and like explode. I'm like, oh, someone's crashed. No, I mean, I'm in first, so there's no cars in front of me, but there's 2 or 3 or maybe 4 AI cars just exploding around me, and I'm thinking, is this intentional or is this just a bug? And I think the game is just riddled with bugs, and the fact that you make it through the 6 minutes course without falling through the floor, which I've done a few times, is a bit of a miracle. And it's so close. It's not ukulele levels of disaster, but it really is like. It's not a show at all. It's not even a grower. It's just a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure. I wonder if this game's even going to do enough for them to have the opportunity to do another one.
But they've survived on the golf, the zones 1 and 2.
I've been hearing enough about this. Like, I think, you know, it being an homage to Burnout is enough for a lot of people, even if it ultimately doesn't quite deliver. Like, I've heard enough chatter about it.
Well, especially given the drought that we're in for arcade racers. Specifically of the Burnout style variety that we had periodically for so long. Yeah.
It's so close, man. But the more you play it, the more you realise it's probably not as close as you think it initially is when you first turn it on. Like, the fact that they've nicked the whole Burnout 3 HUD probably masks over a lot of the fact that they haven't quite got the nuance down for it to be a true Burnout.
But maybe also does it a disservice because, like 3 and then Revenge, the attitude and what the music brought to that as well kind of was a lot of people's memories of those games. So without the music, with like AI drive, like I can't remember if it was 3 or if it was Revenge, where traffic would just get bowled out of the way like it was a cardboard box.
Revenge,
that's Revenge,
and that was just. It was clearly just, okay, we want this to be fun. Let's not beat around the bush here. Just have everyone else get out of the way, and it's fine. And it's kind of stuff like that where they knew what the experience they were crafting, whereas it sounds like, I've seen bits of it but not played it, sounds like what they're going for is let's try and evoke some of the feeling of 2 and 3, but where they miss is going to stand out as much as where they hit, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, they added traffic checking into Danger Zone 2, and it's actually quite good fun. But Danger Zone 2 is, like I said earlier, it is even buggier than Dangerous Driving. So I think I crashed into a bus, which crashed into an icon of power up, and it just crashed the game. And I'm thinking, like, what I haven't done, that wasn't even that intense. Like, that wasn't even. It says Xbox One X enhanced, and it's just completely buckled my system just because the game was being played. I just think, so bad impressions. And it even kind of, when you put the disc in, like, it recognises the disc as Danger Zone 2, and it installs Dangerous Driving like a digital download. So I put the disc in, and Danger Zone 2 popped up, and I'm thinking, where's Dangerous Driving? I tweeted them. I tweeted them and said, Dangerous Driving's not on the disc, mate. And I didn't reply. And then I worked it out in like the 5 minutes afterwards. Like, oh, okay. So I went to the store page. It said Dangerous Driving is installed. I thought, so it's installed, but it's not on the disc. Like, what the flipping hell is going on?
They're using the Danger Zone 2 that was already a game, therefore they could easily put on a disc as a key to then unlock the digital download. Yeah. Interesting way of doing it, but a bit weird. It
kind of reeks for the whole product in like it kind of feels really stitched together, you know, and it really when it falls apart, it kind of falls apart in well, like in me pointing towards the sun at one point. So it goes out in a blaze of glory, pretty much. But yeah, it was 25-ish quid. So
I mean, that's not cheap though, is it? That's upper sort of indie budget.
And it is one of those games where I just think, I can't wait to trade it in. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I can't wait to get rid of it. I want to play it, and my initial thing was I'm going to get all golds, but now I just think, I just want to just play it and get rid of it. Like, yeah. Next time, guys. Yeah. Next time, well, all girls. I think there's both genders at that company.
You could, yeah, it's fine.
So next up, I've been playing Islanders.
Islanders. You really want to play this? It looks lovely.
It is chill as fuck. It is so. Oh man. Like, it's the exact opposite of what I wanted. Like, no, it's the exact opposite of Sekiro, which means I don't want to play Sekiro anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that later on when James. Oh no, I'm going to talk about it later on. But yeah, Islanders is kind of like it's a high score, very relaxed RTS game in that it doesn't really push you to do anything other than the fact that, like, you have to choose two routes at the start. So you've got a small island, and it has like rocks, and it has flowers, and it has plants, and it has a thing over here and a thing over there, and you have to go down certain routes to place onto the island to generate more points. So it's like, if I take the shaman route, I know that I need to have a bunch of flowers on my island to generate more points. But if I have a shaman next to a factory, they're not going to be that happy with each other, so you're going to lose points because of that. And the factory might be next to the flowers, which is next to the mine. So therefore, you've got to try and work out. It's basically a puzzle game, not really an RTS, or a city building one. Sorry, it's more of a puzzle game than it lets on, I think. Mm-hmm. But it is so relaxing, and you can just ping it on. And if you lose, it doesn't matter. If you run out of options, like by lose, you run out of places to put stuff. So like, you've probably got a square of about an acre or whatever measurement of land, but you can't put anything on it because it needs to be next to something to generate points. And you do end up running aground and going, oh no, I should have put that over there. So then that would have freed up the water mill to be nearer the water. Right. But you're not too sure what path you're going to be choosing yet. Mm-hmm. So it's quite, it is quite in depth when you start thinking about the future of the island that you're about to play. And the idea is to generate enough points so you fill up this little icon in the right-hand corner to go on to the next island. And then in between that icon filling up, you have to fill up these wheels in the bottom left-hand corner of points to generate the next path for you to choose from. And it's really good. I do really like it. And it was £4 on Steam. I had like £2 worth of Steam credit in my account. So I just picked it up and I thought, even if I don't play it for a week or two, one day I will just click it on and go, this is nice, and just go, this is exactly what I need right now. Mm-hmm. And I do really feel like I'm feeling that kind of vibe at the moment with gaming, where I'm really struggling. If it's not a comfort food game, I'm really struggling to get into games at the moment because I'm just a dad, man. I'm just really tired. You know what I mean? And I don't want to blow my own trumpet or anything, but I'm a dad who stays at home most of the time as well, because that's the kind of family we are at the moment. And it's just like, Monday and Tuesdays are the most stressful time, but also the most rewarding, but also I'm flipping tired, man. I just want to play something like Islanders or Yoshi's Cardboard World, which I've been also playing.
See, I've played a bit of this, but I didn't feel like I'd played enough to really talk about it, so you go ahead.
I finished it the other day.
Okay. Does it get hard?
Sorry, just drinking water there. No, the last kind of world does, but not in the way Woolly World did. Like, Woolly World was starting to test your metal by the end.
Yeah.
This kind of goes down the route of more gimmicky levels. If you can have gimmicky Yoshi levels, I mean, they're pretty much, all about the gimmick. But in terms of Yoshi, it does go to the next level, and it surprised me a bit, but it kind of plateaus at a certain point, and you know what to expect in terms of difficulty, but also it's really nice. It's just so good to just go, yeah, let's just run through this level and just enjoy the stuff going on around me. And I've never really felt that about Yoshi and Kirby games specifically before, because I've always chased the hard platformer, like, I want to be Super Meat Boy, let's go for it. Now I'm just like, yeah, let's just find some flowers. It's nice. And me and Ivy, we play it together. Well, we played it together. We're going to go through it again to get all the bits and bobs. She points it out and she feels involved, even though I'm doing all the hard work. And yeah.
Did you
it's
just
great.
get good your daughter?
Yeah, I did. I said, come on, sort it out. But I've been talking about it with a few Kane Rinse forum people, mainly Suits, who's kind of our boy over there with Yoshi and Nintendo and stuff. We both picked up on the fact that the game doesn't feel as fulfilled as it was meant to be when it was first revealed. If so, I mean, like, they kind of pitched the idea that you can flip the level around at any time, but you can't.
No,
like,
you just play through it once, and then you can play through it in reverse, which is still cool. But yeah, it's not like,
because the impression was though you could flip it and play the level back to front, at a click of a finger. I can't think of a game that does that, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there are points in the game where you throw an egg. The egg throwing in this game is actually pretty decent compared to other Yoshi games. It's it's really free and easy, and you can throw it however you want. There's no predicted line. You can just ping off an egg over there easy into the background, into the foreground, it's good. But once you ping it into the cloud, the camera will flip round and it'll give you a 10-second challenge to pick up a flower or some red coins or the usual Yoshi things to do. But I come away thinking at one point this game was meant to be a complete 180 flip round whenever you fancy it to see the back end of the level and discover secrets. But the more I thought about that, the more the game must have had like a million problems to solve, and they just went, actually, we need to wind this back a bit, and maybe we only do it as pre-scripted bits where you find little baby poochies, or but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a fun game, and it is just a jolly good time, and it is exactly what you think it is. It's pleasant. It's nice. It's just, they even do a woolly level and you just think, oh, no.
Oh, really?
I'm not spoilers and all that, but yeah, it's not going to blow your mind, but it will just give you a nice hug, and that's all you kind of needed.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've played, like I know, a load of the reviews have been like, really positive and saying, oh, this is like the first proper sequel to Yoshi's Island. I'm not getting that at all, to be honest. Even if it was as good, it's really different, just in the structure and the way the levels are built and stuff. I don't really see the comparison to Yoshi's Island, but whatever.
It's not really, like, Yoshi's Island is such a unique thing. Like, you can't touch that game. I mean, they tried to, but we just not talk about that, because that game was a bit of an abomination. But at first it feels kind of sterile, the levels, but you do really adjust to the crafted nature of the aesthetic. I do really like it, and it kind of, some of it, like when a boss pops out and it goes all stop animation on the the Kamek and the baby Juicy Bowser. What's he called?
Bowser Jr.
That was a word, wasn't it? Bowser Jr. That's it. I want to call him Baby Bowser, but he's Bowser Jr., isn't he? So I kind of merged the two together then, and that's Baby Brain.
Baby Bowser Jr.
Baby Bowser Jr. There you go. Thank you very much. The aesthetic is absolutely mint, basically. I can't fault it, and it does pull you through the game enough to see it to the end. And I will be going back to find all the rest of the bits when we fancy it. We do Yoshi Sundays because I don't want to play the game every day. I'm at home with her, because then it becomes a thing. So we do Yoshi Sundays now, and we'll pick a level. We'll get enough coins, and she'll do the bit where you open the toy capsules and pop open a bunch of little cute cosmetic items for Yoshi to run around in, which benefit you if you're not very good at the game, because you can add extra HP to your.
It's basically like a suit of armor, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's really cool. Like, she pops them around. I think it's like it's a yogurt pot, hooray! And she runs around the front room. It really puts a smile on everyone's face. And I think that's exactly what they were going for with just Yoshi as a character, weren't they? They were just going to go, we're just going to give everyone a nice reason to smile about life. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, when I saw this, when I played a demo, I was actually a bit disappointed because I wondered where any of the challenge would be. But I guess the way you're talking about it, it doesn't need that. It's just a nice, comfortable game without the need for it to keep ramping up in difficulty.
Yeah, that's it. It's just this will be someone's first platformer, And that's kind of your, that's is that underselling it? Probably not, but it will be someone's first platformer, and sometimes it does feel like that. But that's kind of that's fine.
I'd be interested to hear like how you get on with the like going through doing all the extra stuff, because that was always the thing with Yoshi's Island, was that actually it was pretty easy just getting to the end of the game, but then it was and trying to 100% all the levels was where the challenge really was. So I'd be interested to see if that's the case, but
it seems easier than Yoshi's Island. Yeah. But that's because they've probably learned. We've learned as players of Yoshi games that there's a certain flow to the secrets in the game. So if you stand under a platform, a cloud's going to pop above you, kind of like Zelda. You see a pattern emerge in the environment.
So sometimes you're like, well, why have they put that there? And then you run over. It's like, oh yeah, because there's a secret. And
and those do repeat throughout the levels, but you get used to them and you look forward to seeing them. You go, oh, there's a platform there with 2 coins either side. What if I go in the middle and fire an egg up? Pray. Like the predictability becomes a charm upon itself. And I kind of like
because you get that sort of that feeling of like getting in the designer's head, don't you? Like you're on the same page as them and you're figuring out, picking up like clues that they left for you on purpose. It can be a nice feeling,
Yes, but we will go through the levels again. It may take a year or 2, but we will get there eventually. And
cool.
Good times.
Nice one.
So quickly, I'm going to talk about these rare games quite quickly. I've been playing Banjo Nuts and Bolts again for the podcast. That's at the end of the year, but I wanted to kind of do it now just because. So any excuse to play Nuts and Bolts again, and I'm really enjoying it. Like
it's a great game.
It's
really good.
I liked it when it came out. I didn't love it, but I'm playing it again now with the mentality of before I was worried about losing time to making rubbish vehicles and going, oh, that was a rubbish vehicle, I'm not going to get the trophy. Now I'm just playing it just for the sake of playing it, and it's just so much fun. Like, if I make a plane that nose dives into the ground within 2 seconds, that's part of the fun. Just kind of Blue Peter it and see what happens, you know what I mean? And if it all explodes, just take that as a laugh. I'm going for the achievements I didn't get before because it's a rare game and I need the rare achievements attached to my name for some unknown reason. But it's just really good. And as the show gets closer and closer to recording in October, November, I'm going to be hosting a few game nights of Nuts and Bolts. So maybe we can hook up and do some Nuts and Bolts in together. That's pretty much why I want to mention it, because if you haven't played Nuts and Bolts in ages, I want some people to play with so we can talk about it on the KNOS issue. This is your 6-month warning that I will be hollering for people to play Nuts and Bolts with me.
I will need an Xbox One is the only problem.
Or a 360. Hey?
Oh, yeah, true, yeah. I suppose you should wheel out the 360, God, yeah.
Yeah, man.
But that game. I mean, because I've never been a Banjo-Kazooie guy, but Nuts and Bolts is tremendous. Have you seen some of the stuff people have made with it? Like stuff that actually breaks the game and the developers don't even know they've done it?
It's mental, and it will be something that we'll be talking about. It's hard to talk about visual stuff on a podcast, but we will be at least somehow mentioning it on the podcast because some of the creations are just
just nuts,
just lovely. And Bolts. So play Banjo Nuts and Bolts. You can pick up Rare Replay for $5, and if you just play Banjo Nuts and Bolts, I'll be happy. So, cheers. But speaking of Nuts and Bolts and things that you make, I've also been making Labo VR for the Switch. Yeah, I managed to convince my wife to pick it up for me for my birthday, even though my birthday's not in June. So, it's the same with Sekiro. My brother just like, Sekiro's out soon. I was like, yeah. Do you want it for your birthday? I'm like, yes, March. He's like, yeah, that's fine. that's fine. So I was like, I've got something going on here. I'm going to start getting my birthday presents early.
Does that not lead to massive disappointment on your actual birthday, though?
I mean, my birthdays are generally a disappointment anyway.
Okay, well, fine. I mean, that's...
Is that because you get all your presents 3 months early?
No, that's because I just get socks and pants. This time, I'm proactive. I'm like, no, I'm going to give people ideas. And because they keep saying that...
Are you not at that age where you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I needed some socks and pants, actually. Thank you.
That's Christmas, mate. That's Christmas. Don't worry about that. I'm proactive this year because my brother's expecting, and his partner are expecting a baby in June, which my birthday's in June. So I'm proactive. I'm getting in the presents now before the baby arrives.
They're not going to have any time.
And then there's no money
in June.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all up here, mate. Up here for dancing.
Clever.
What's the phrase?
This is the smart version of what James did with his kids, isn't it?
That's true, yeah.
Instead of cheating your kid out of a birthday when it doesn't suit you, Darren's actually,
I just move mine forward. Yeah. Spring forward. June moves to March. What's the phrase?
The
daylight saving stuff.
Spring forward,
Labo
back.
VR.
That's the one.
I got the basic, bog standard package, because if it was rubbish, I didn't want to go knees deep in it and go, oh, I've wasted 80 quid, or Gemma's wasted 80 quid on some bunch of cardboard. And I got it last Thursday, and I'm pleasantly surprised by how well it works.
Yeah.
For a thing that you literally push to your face and your arm hurts after 5 minutes. It works pretty good, and the effect is there. It is really blurry. The things in the background are really blurry. Yeah. It reminds me of playing Oculus, but when it was SDK 1 or 2, like that kind of level of just oh, those things in the background look like blobs,
so,
man. Like,
is it VR or is it more just 3D?
I mean, it is VR, but it's not to the extent of PS, or at the moment, it's not PSVR levels. It's not, anything above that. Mm-hmm. But it is virtual reality. There are bits in the Labo tech demos where you're using a Joy-Con to pick up a fish, and you can just wing it around at stuff and just go mental with a bunch of physics. Like it touches on what you've seen before in PSVR. It kind of gets close to what stuff you've seen before. Mm-hmm. But because it's a £30 bit of cardboard pressed to your face, it's got a load of limitations. And I think that's by design, You are holding it up against your head and you're forcing it on your nose, so your nose hurts. And then your arm's hurting because you're holding it. And then you're trying to tap the other side of the box with your finger to choose the menu. And you're like, this is just, it's a bit too intense with the things it wants you to do.
It's like we said, it's interesting that, like a year ago or whatever, Nintendo said, we'll do VR when we've solved the problem of it being uncomfortable when you do it for too long or whatever. And their solution to that is to just make it so uncomfortable that you would never want to do it for more than 5 minutes at a time.
But Sean, if your arm hurts, then that distracts from everything else that hurts. Surely that's the trick.
Oh yeah, it's that classic technique.
I built the headset one night, and I was like, I haven't got the mental capacity to do another one in the same night. So I left it for the next day, and I was really begrudgingly doing it. I was like, I've got to build this blaster. It looks massive in the videos. How long is it going to take? And it says like 2 to 3 hours, and I'm like, let's strap in. We're going to do this. And it took me about 2 hours in the end, but I got so into the building that it didn't care. It didn't bother me. I listened to podcasts and stuff. I was loving it. I was like, I'm the cardboard master. I'm all over it. And like the thing the Labo does, right? The game itself, the cartridge, it tells a little story as you're going through it. And I don't really read a lot of it at the top. It's like, now fold the crease, and now you're going to bend this thing, and it's going to be really nice. And it's just all in words above you, above the actual layout of the in-game graphic version of the Labo. It's all really well done. It's like the exact 100% opposite of IKEA instructions. IKEA instructions are like caveman drawings. Just like, right, you do it. Labo's like, no, we're going to sit down. I'm going to move your arms like a golf teacher. I'm going to grab you by the arms, and we're going to do it together. It's going to be great. And you're like, yes, Labo, come on. And then it tells a little narrative like, oh, doesn't it feel snug in that little pocket in there? You're like, it does feel snug in there. You're right, Labo. You're a cheeky little devil. This is lovely. And it's just like, oh, and how about you fold the crease over to the left there?
Labo, are you flirting with me?
It's just brilliant. I was all over it. I was telling my wife, like every time something like that happened, I was like, hey, our Labo's having a moment. And she's like, oh, doesn't the Joy-Con slot in there lovely? You're like, yes, it does, Labo. And she's like, you're just a child. Grow up. But yeah, the blaster is absolutely... it is like Wii remote levels of just like, we need to get people to play this who don't play video games. This is brilliant. Like, I really wanted to just shove it on everyone's face the moment I made it. And so I texted my wife, I was like, you got to come down and play it. She goes, I'm tired. It's 10 o'clock. Can I just... I was like, no, come downstairs now. And like 11:15, she's like in the front room, like, pew, 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 shooting around the front room. She's like, this is great. I can't wait. I want to do level 6 now. And you're like, I've created a monster. Like, she's not going to go to bed now. She goes, I'm worried I'm squashing the handle. I'm like, don't squash the handle. I know you're enjoying it, but don't squash the handle. So the blaster is a giant cannon that kind of rests on your face. You put the Switch screen in the headset, and then you put that in the blaster, and then you push it up against your face. You've got the cocking motion of, say, a shotgun on the front, and then you've on the back, not the front, you've got a button rather than a trigger. I guess that's because it's kid-friendly.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like, actually, you're firing a gun, it's cool.
But it doesn't harm the experience of the game at all. It's quite nice to press it from the back, I don't need things to feel like guns for me to, that's not a thing I get a kick out of, so to speak. Not at the age of 36, anyway. It's so on-rail shooters in VR I liked Rush of Blood. Was it on PSVR?
Yeah,
But I didn't feel-
Until Dawn. Rush of
it
Blood.
was good. I liked it. But it didn't have the kind of level of connection as this thing does. And this is purely down to the cardboard. And I think this is the genius of Labo being in VR. Or VR, the cardboard working with the Nintendo's stupidity is sort of magical at the same time. Like building a gun out of cardboard seems really stupid. But once you put the effort in to make it, and you feel everything going on because you're cocking and pushing the button and tilting your head around, it adds a level of immersion that I've never really felt from VR before, because it feels like you are holding that thing in. It looks like a SNES blaster thingy, the Super Scope in front of you, sort of. And it's got a very Star Foxy vibe about the whole aesthetic mixed with Splatoon. So it's got the colour splats of Splatoon and aliens popping here and there and everywhere. But it's got like the metallic, shiny look of a Star Fox as well. And it just feels really good to spin that gun around your front room and just... They've got something there with the blaster. Like, if Metroid comes out and you can play some section of that in the blaster, like, yeah, I'm all up for that. Do you know what I mean? Or you can build a something to make yourself feel more like Samus. You build a cardboard that looks like Samus's helmet and you put it on your head. Like, you play the Blaster VR game and you can kind of see what their vision is for Labo VR or just VR in general with their stuff. You kind of get an inkling of just what they can do with their bigger experiences going forward. And this is literally just kind of a tech demo, a dip in the water.
It's interesting
This is why I absolutely loved Farpoint using the aim controller, because as silly as it is, like, you just hold this plastic gun in your living room, like just having that physical object in your hands and that. And your brain translating that to like the virtual environment, it just feels so fun to use that. I'm sure this does very, very similar things.
Yeah, and the fact that you're kind of scared and apprehensive of building something that it could all go wrong, and you don't break it, and it works. Like the elastic bands work, and you built something, you've done it in your front room, and it's just like. It just feels so rewarding to actually hand it to someone and go, here you go, here's my blaster. It's quite big and it fits that cupboard really awkwardly, but how about go on that? It takes up a lot of room. Don't worry about that. Put it on your face, little 8-year-old nephew. Go on. And he's like screaming and jumping around the front room with this £300 screen in his hands. And I'm thinking, this is good, but also he might break it. You know what I mean? But it ultimately, really rewarding experience, even if it is really shallow. You know what I mean? It's kind of...
It's interesting
playing it every day.
What you're saying about, sort of potentially like non-gamers not being as intimidated by it, because that is definitely a thing with VR, isn't it? Like, I managed to get my wife to play Area X on Res, but that's it. Like, she's got no interest in doing VR again, because I guess it is the whole, like, because you are like fitting something to your face. And the earphones are in and everything, and you're so immersed in it that I think people find that quite intimidating. Whereas actually, look, it's just a box you press to your face, and you can just take it off whenever you want. It's a lot easier for people to get their heads around, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the videos you can watch are just that. They're like 10, 15-second videos of just stuff happening, like deers eating cookies out of a man. Not cookies, but like biscuits or whatever. Something that's circular, that's OT, out of a man's hand. And or there's like penguins swimming towards you, or there's Mario. There's a Virtual Boy one where you go inside a Virtual Boy headset, which is quite funny. It's got some nice little nods in there. To my 8-year-old nephew / godson, he couldn't do the headset on its own with the Joy-Con. He found it a bit too overwhelming from a control point of view. He couldn't hold it because it's quite big, really, for his little puny hands. And a Joy-Con, which is quite good for his puny hands. But it was just like, I can't work it out. So we put the blaster on, and he absolutely just clicked with it 100%. It's so intuitive with what it wants you to do, because you are doing the stuff that the game is 100% asking you to do, like turn your head around to do the camera, cock and fire, shoot the aliens. Simple. But just, it's typical Nintendo. They just do it just right. Like, the levels don't last longer than a minute. It's kind of a roller coaster, it goes up high, it goes down low, it goes in the dark, it goes in the light, and there are some mechanics you can flip round, kind of vaguely Mario Galaxy-esque, with flipping panels and stuff. It's just nice. It's just good. And I'm really glad I got it.
Cool.
I'm tempted to pick up the other ones just because who doesn't want to put an elephant on their face? You know what I mean?
It's interesting how they've done it. Like, as if they got the feeling that actually people wouldn't be totally convinced So because most Labo kits, it's like all or nothing, right? And they're all like sort of 50, 60 quid at least. Whereas this, it's like, I think they knew it was a bit of a push. So yeah, you got the option of that sort of 30, 35 pound kit and then the other stuff as well. So yeah, it's interesting.
So are any of like the patches out for games to play them? I know like Zelda
the
Mario
games,
isn't, but is Mario Kart out already?
No, they've only announced Odyssey and Breath of the Wild for the 25th of April, right?
Okay. I thought the Mario Kart one was out, but okay, cool.
No, they did that as a thing in London and other cities around the world where you could go to the arcade and it was in VR. So the Namco made Mario Kart game was in VR for a brief time at some point, which I couldn't. But you imagine that was a test bed for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because if they don't do that, there's probably going to be pitchforks and burning steaks and stuff. Because
but the other two patches drop on the 25th.
25th of April, yeah. So,
okay, it'll be awesome to hear what you think about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll see you all next year when I'm invited back on, and I'll tell you that.
We'll just send James on another holiday. It's fine. All right, you got anything else?
Yeah, briefly talk about these 3 games. They're all Rare related, and then I'm going to finish off with Sekiro, which hopefully James will carry on talking about in a more professional manner. I've been playing Sea of Thieves because, of course, I have. I took a massive break.
Yeah.
No, end of the month that comes, but
okay.
I'm playing with my brother to get him up to speed, so to speak. He's got into it heavily, and it got me back into it heavily. And he texts me most mornings. He's like, I'm on a late shift this morning. What are you doing? I'm like, it's Tuesday. I've got a day off. You know what I mean? So me and Ivy, we just sit down, and then she'll do her thing, and she'll play in the front room, or she'll watch something on the tablet, and then we end up playing like a couple hours of Sea of Thieves. Well, on Saturdays when I've got Daddy in my own time, and or maybe on a Tuesday morning. But I'm getting really into it again, and the way they've kind of streamlined it. Right, I hit Legendary when it was really hard to hit Legendary.
Yeah.
But now they've made the game a lot more accessible and fairer, like to the point where you like, I kind of resent it in a way, like, oh god, back in my day, it was well hard to get Legendary. But now you've got ways of making friends on the seas now, as opposed to it all being hostile.
Right, yeah.
You've got the skull forts are now constantly active or very, happening more often than 4 hours a time. Like they're every 15 minutes now. So there's always stuff going on, and that they've just streamlined the experience to the point where if you lose something, you're not going to get overly frustrated because you're straight back into it, or it didn't take 2 hours to get there in the first place. They're really cleverly, just streamlined the game to be a bit more of a smoother sailing experience. And then between the islands, they've now added like these new AI threats, as they called them back in the back last year, and it just seemed like the most ominous phrase ever. But it is just kind of like it's an AI controlled threat, and you just don't know when it's going to come because they're always underwater. So the Kraken's been there since day one, but now we've got the Meg and its variants, the Megalodon, and the variants don't really mean much other than the rarity and kind of their behaviour. Like some of them are really aggressive, some of them are passive, and then you've got the Skelly ships, which are just arseholes, man. Like you hear the music goes, dun, 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 you're like, oh, Ryan, I think there's a skeleton going, and then 2 of them pop up either side of you, and it's like these massive galleons full of skeletons swearing at you. Yeah, it is all skeletons still, but it's just there's the moment to moment gameplay of Sea of Thieves it's changed massively because the sea is full of absolute bellends like players. Yeah. It's just full of some nice players. Some kids, because it's now half term, we've had a bit of grief off kids now. Like, I've been playing this morning actually, and we was like, it's a bit lively on the server this morning. What's going on? Oh, it's half term. This little kid comes and I'm like, yeah, you're going to sink your ship, mate. I was like, oh, it is half term, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, come on, you want to fight? And you're like, no, not really. I just want to do my mission and get on with it. Yeah, we're going to sink your ship. And we're like, oh, okay, let's just get on with it. But overall, Sea of Thieves is. I think this is the year for it. It's gonna like this content update that looks like it's got fishing, it's got the arena, the combat arena stuff, and plenty more that we don't know about. I've got a feeling that this is the year for it to thrive. And if this year doesn't catch on like they kind of hope it will, then I think we won't see any more content for it, because this is like all eggs in one basket now. Yeah. And this is kind of. I don't know if Rare are working on a second game or not, but you kind of think, based on this year for Sea of Thieves, like maybe the next project will have suddenly a load of new staff members on it. But they have been staffing up Rare to high heavens at the moment, and you just think, why? Like, why? What for? Like, I mean, I kind of know some things, but I shouldn't. No, yeah.
Don't do that.
I know. No. No. Right, I basically Sea of Thieves, when it was developed, it wasn't a game that had a lot of developers on it. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
And now they've got loads of developers on it, and now all of a sudden it's getting loads of content. Like you could, I don't want to say it publicly because it sounds like a dickish thing to say, but that's the truth. And it's just like, yeah, they didn't have many people working on Sea of Thieves when it first came out, and now they do. So you think, where do all those people go if Sea of Thieves tanks after this? But I don't think it will. Like they're addressing a lot of community feedback. And they're adding stuff like the fishing that we've been asking for since day one. They're actually putting it in now, and they're adding ways of people to play like with the PvP arena that feeds into the main journey of being a legend, but in a completely different way. And I just think they're really, if you don't enjoy the adventure mode where it takes 3 hours to get one chest, you can just pop on for this arena thing and just have a blast. Yeah. Like it seems like they're evolving that game in very interesting ways, and I'm very excited for the April the 30th update. And
yeah, I mean, from an outsider, it sort of feels like it's been building momentum for a long time. Not just its bigger prominence in like the export sort of shows and when they have their sort of inside Xbox stuff, but last year it suddenly banged on Twitch with loads of big streamers streaming it. Yeah. And obviously these, with every new content update, more people seem to be going back to it. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what's like. I'm
definitely excited about trying it again for sure.
Right, at its core, excuse me, I need some water. At its core, it is very much Sea of Thieves. Like, you're not going to get on a boat and suddenly you'll be, up in the sky flying around shooting unicorns or something. It is the same game, but they've made it in such a way. Because like people talk about like Team Fortress 2 and other games that have evolved over time. They're like, it's not even the same game anymore. And you think, well, no, it is. Yeah. Like, it kind of is the same game, but if they just changed it enough for it to be more enjoyable. And that's kind of what Sea of Thieves is at right now. It's a more rewarding experience. Like, so if you were to like crash and burn within 5 minutes, you'll find yourself back on your boat within a minute, and maybe you'll spawn on an island where there's a chest to pick up. Like, there's a lot of quality of life features that the game seems to have implemented to make you feel like less of a loser, and that's a good thing.
Cool.
Awesome.
It's amazing the number of games as service that it does take, or it seems to take, a year, maybe more, to just build out enough stuff in the game. I don't want to use the C word, but content. It's content. To build that out enough for the player base that are just voracious and will play everything, but then for the other players who kind of got a little bit of what they wanted, but they didn't want some of the other stuff to do, activities, modes, whatever, be it single player, multiplayer stuff like in Destiny, and just get it to the point where everyone can kind of log on once a day, once a week, and they'll have something that they just know, right, that's what I'm doing today. Go and do that, and then they can come out and they'll get the rewards and get what they want from the game without having to kind of wait for patches to drop, wait for extra stuff, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, man, it's I can't argue. Like, even on week one, I had a lot of issues with Sea of Thieves, but the core, basically the Barneys I had on the sea were funny enough for me to carry on playing. Yeah. And now we've got a lot more ways to Barney or friend with each other. Yeah. Like the speaker's trumpet is a thing they've added, so you can shout across the seas from further distance. And like sometimes I just play Prodigy down the speaker, and people are just like, "What is going on?" Like, I was circling around an island, Galleon's Grave Outpost. I was circling around it, right, and I had no intent. I wanted to earn an achievement for sailing 1,000 miles on a specific mission. So I did. I've been doing that, and some days I just leave it on. Some nights I don't want to play it. I just want to have it on in the background. So I'm just sailing around just for the sake of this achievement, right? I am that person. But I noticed this ship was at a Galleon's Grave Outpost, an outpost, and it was a sloop. So I thought, right, I've got a chest that's it's worth a bit of money. I'm going to jump on the outpost. I'm going to let my ship sail away, so they don't think I'm coming. I'm just going to pop up and surprise them. They were like, "Oh, where'd you come from?" I was like, "Yeah, just jumped off my ship and my ship's sailing off." They're like, "No, that ship's coming towards us." I was like, "Nah, check again. The ship's definitely sailing away." And they were like, "Oh, you're weird." I was like, "I'm not weird. What are you talking about?" Handed in the chest because they were quite bemused by the fact that I was on the island with a chest in their hands. They didn't really know what to do. So I got back on my ship via the mermaid, and I thought, I'm just going to go back. I've got to. I just went, woo, around the island like 5 times, and then I just heard on the microphone, "You're really creepy." And I was like, "Yes, I am." Woo! We just carried on sailing around them, and then people came back into the house, and I thought, I can't be a clown in this house when people have just come in. I have to turn the game off now. But sometimes I just really go full loopy on that game and just go, right, I'll just kind of just be an idiot for 5 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it just really weirds people out. Like there's a song on the Prodigy album. It's called Boom Boom Tap, right? And I played the intro to that. The end of the intro ends in the phrase "fuck you." So when I was annoyed with someone, I would just play it down the speaker, down the trumpet in the game, so it was extra loud in the game, and I'd just drive the ship into them. Boom boom tap. Fuck you! And it's just like, I'm going to do that again. Spawned back into the game. I was like, right, where are they? They're over there. Right, I'm going back in. Boom, boom, tap, boom, tap. I just smashed my ship into theirs again. Like, the game is just like, it's ridiculous.
Absolute griefer. Just
mate,
people's fun
I'm
online.
So angry with these idiots. Like, I just... you get wound up by people on the sea because you're just minding your own business, right? And these people just come along and they just do you in for no reason. You're like, why'd you do that? We got the ability to talk to each other and like discuss these things because that's the kind of way I am now. But when people piss me off, I'm just like, right, I'm just going to go full loopy on this now and just wind some people up because I'm Pirate Legend now. I've got nothing to lose. I keep saying that to people. Like, I've got nothing to lose in this game. You can't take anything away from me to make me angry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make your next 10 minutes or maybe 15, 20 minutes just a bore. I'm just going to drive into you again and again and again, playing Prodigy or just making weird, stupid noises at people. Like, I wish there was more people like me on the sea because I would find it hilarious just for people to just be going around just playing their favourite music like a child or just screaming at people. Yeah, the game's weird, man, but it's also quite exciting.
Cool.
Turns out games are, in fact, art.
Darren, I'm just looking at your list. Bearing in mind we're approaching the 2-hour mark.
Nah.
Do you need to talk about Donkey Kong 64?
I played through it. I played through it all, and it's not very good. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, but it starts off quite good, and then it takes a nosedive. Okay. It's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be, but it's still not very good.
Okay.
And this is the shout out for Rusty Pup. It's now out on your phone. The guys who made Conker made a new game called Rusty Pup. It is good, man.
I'm gonna. So it won't be this week. I reckon next week I'm gonna stream it. But yeah.
Right. It is like Lemmings in that you control this. You don't control this dog. You control this hand that manipulates platforms around this dog. Solve puzzles. It's really hard, but it's also really fair and rewarding. Give it a shot. I just want to say it because not people enough talking about it, and it's just a shame, really. And I'm in the credits, sure, but also it's pretty good. So The Unlikely Legend of Rusty Pup is out on Steam and iOS devices that are really good. So
nice one. Cool. Cheers. Right, I'll do mine. I have finally played Beat Saber.
You have, thank God.
PSVR. Yeah, thanks to Matt for just sharing his account with me. This is I've got loads of stuff to dig through as a result, but this was like the first one I tried, and I was pretty much stuck on this for a while. What a fucking phenomenal game. I mean, being into rhythm games anyway, I was probably always gonna like this. For those who aren't aware, so VR game where you have your 2 move controllers, which are like lightsabers in the game, and basically blocks are flying at you, and you have to slash at them in time with the music, and they all have, well not all of them, but most of them have like little directional arrows on them, so you have to not only hit them at the right time, but in the right direction. And then there's like different coloured blocks, so you know some you have to hit with the left saber and some you have to hit with the right. And then there's like obstacles fly at you and you have to sort of dodge around and duck underneath things as well, which is not too frequent, but whatever. But yeah, just what an incredible experience. Like, it's really interesting to have a rhythm game where, because there's so much like movement involved, because you're like properly swinging your arms around, you know, you're not just pressing buttons or, you know, or whatever, there's such a large degree of movement involved that once you start getting good at it, it's as much about like your sort of timing and your positioning like between the things you're supposed to be hitting.
Oh yeah, you really do have to set yourself up.
Yeah, like, and it's
for
just
the next SWAT slice.
Yeah, it's like you've got like, it's like, you know, when you have like a graph and you've got like points of data on the graph, and it's like, right, draw, you know, the line of best fit so that it sort of smoothly goes through all those points with it, you know. It's like you're doing that essentially. So like, you know, you might have a series of notes going like up, down, left, right, or whatever, but it's like, but it's not just a case of sort of going like, you know, moving one direction and then sort of back to the centre and then another direction.
You're not zigzagging between the points. You want to kind of...
Yeah, you develop a flow between them.
Best
yeah,
route through,
exactly, yeah. Sort of a line of best fit, basically. And it's just fascinating and feels incredible to play.
It's been designed in such a good way. It's because often if you swipe up, the next one will be a down one.
Yeah.
They're not often like, okay, swipe up, now not another swipe up, because they know that won't feel as good.
Yeah, they know that will feel
natural.
awkward. Yeah, they've like really clearly designed it with like, so yeah, like although, you know, what's flying to you is like a series of, you know, blocks with directions on them, it's like you can tell there's a motion that they intended
it's
as a result of that.
Almost. Yeah.
It's really
Definitely,
fucking
It
clever.
feels like dancing at points, and,
Yeah,
and then like
totally.
often you want to almost dance, but then like you lose you know. So I mean, obviously we've all seen the videos of people who are incredible at it, and it does look like it's just like an incredible sort of choreography, as you just said, James.
Yeah.
It feels so good when you nail it. It's amazing.
Yeah, like I definitely look like a fucking idiot when I'm playing it. I'm
It's
sure of
definitely
that, but
the game that I feel the silliest, but I don't care. But definitely,
totally.
of all the PSVR games I've played, it's definitely the one where I know I've looked the most ridiculous while I was playing it.
But I know, like Matt, you mentioned at the time when you first played it, it's not a bad workout, is it? When you get to the high difficulties,
definitely.
like it's pretty good.
It's easy to get a sweat on.
Yeah,
for sure,
totally.
yeah.
So yeah, properly enjoyed that. I think my only complaint is I don't like most of the soundtrack. Like,
I'm sort of with you there.
Yeah, there's like a few songs that I properly enjoy doing, and I kind of just stick with those.
It also feels pretty limited as a
like genre-wise, it's all kind of the same stuff. But
I think that's fair.
I
mean, on PC, obviously,
Yes.
there's mods on PC, so people can put whatever like song they want and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's less. Obviously, you can't do it on PSVR. I know they have added new tracks recently, but I think the library isn't amazing. I mean, it's just good because the game feels so good to play and it's really fun. But the actual music itself and the library isn't massive, and I wasn't really blown away by that.
Yeah. Which is a shame. But
I really liked the music, but it's very much all of a type. There's definitely, I guess, drum and bass is probably a kind of catch-all for it a little bit, which makes sense because you're going to want a strong beat to it to kind of move to.
There's some sort of hardcore stuff, and So if you're into your electronic music,
like dubstep, it's dubsteppy, it's EDM, it's that sort of stuff.
If you're into electronic music and you can see the divisions between those sort of genres, then it probably seems quite varied. Whereas to me, it does all sort of go to one a little bit.
Very much of it.
But
and there is a real weight to the sabers. If you like, if you move them so the two lightsabers cross, the moves vibrate and it.
Yeah, you feel like you're properly slamming them around, like it's
there is like a tactility and stuff to that, which is really well done.
Yeah, and it's like, because obviously on the one hand, like you're slashing at blocks that are flying at you. You're not. There's no illusion that you're playing the music, like it's obviously really key that you are playing to music. There's something about the sort of the rhythm and how that feels versus just slashing at things that are flying at you. What else? I have been playing a game called Bow to Blood on the Switch. This is also on PSVR.
Was it?
Yeah, so I got it on Switch, and I did feel a little bit like maybe I should have got this on PSVR instead, but actually it's been like a pretty good toilet game, so swings and roundabouts. So this it's really unusual. It's a game where you're like the commander of like a little ship. It's like set in the future, and you've got all these like flying, they look like boats, but they fly around, so you're sort of at the at the back of the ship looking out across the deck, and you have like two people you can command around, and there's all different stations. So there's like weapons, shields, you have like a drone dispenser and other stuff. So you can order them around and like mess with like your ship's power systems and stuff. And basically it's this really weird, it's like a tournament that you've entered into, and it's like split up into a series of rounds, and then for each round there's like two events. There's one where you just kind of fly around at your own pace, and you sort of get to fly around like certain bits on the map, and then you'll see there's like little events triggered and stuff. Kill some bad guys, get some points, but then maybe take damage. So it's just like a sort of risk and reward thing. And And then, so you do that, and then there'll be like an event after that where it's like actually you sort of versus like one of the other contestants. Not in like a straight up fight, but it'll be like, there's like a central like shielded area with all these things that you've got to blow up for points. But in order to drop the shield, you've got to fly around and blow up like all these shield generators first. And then, so there's some sort of, you can be like watching the other person, like, well, actually, he's now going for the last shield generator, so I'll position myself so that I go for the things that we have to blow up for points. And so you can be like a bit sneaky with it. Where it gets really interesting is that you have like relationships with the other contestants. So like you might start one of these events, and the person you're against will like message you and be like, look, let's just agree not to shoot the stuff that gets us points until we're both in position, and we can basically split it. And you can be like,
okay,
yeah, and you can be like, well, no, fuck off, or like, yeah, all right, who cares? Like, especially, it's like one of the early rounds. It's like, well, I'm not looking to screw anyone over just yet. But then sometimes you can agree to these things, and then they just don't do it. Like they'll just be like, oh yeah, no, I was fucking with you, sorry. And every other like contestant has like a rating of like how much they like you or dislike you. And as you get these opportunities to either ally with or screw over other people, it then affects like other people's opinion of you based on how much they like the person you're fucking over or helping. And it gets really interesting and like really involved. And it's like by the sort of like fourth or fifth round, like you fucking despise some of these people, and like you've got like like your like proper allies who you will like protect no matter what, and then people that you absolutely loathe. And yeah, it's really good fun. Like the way it works is so at the end of every round it like looks so there's like 8 of you to start with, and basically the bottom 2, whoever's like the the least points, everyone then votes on who gets taken out. So again, and then that's where sort of the popularity contest comes into it a little bit. It's like, well, actually, if you suck at the game, but you manage to keep everyone, on good terms with you, there's less chance that they'll vote you out if it comes to that. Properly interesting and just really unusual. As I say, I think in VR it would be really cool because obviously, like I say, you're sort of steering this giant ship around and being able to sort of look around. There's like cool bits where you're sort of looking around and aiming your cannons and sort of shooting at enemies, but sometimes these like they're called like border drones will sort of fly up to your ship and you have to like pull out like a little pistol and shoot them.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool, but again loses something because I'm doing it on the Switch where it's literally like look in their vague direction, hold L and it auto aims at them. So it sort of loses a bit there. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed it.
But in terms of like the other like players, so do they feel like that they could be human players, or is it's very much it's just AI?
Yeah, it's very obvious that it's all just like sort of AI people going through a script and stuff. But like I've done,
but there's enough for you to think there is like that you are building relationships, even if it's just
totally. And like I've done like a couple of runs at it now. It's like it's sort of, I don't want to say roguelike, but it is like if you're out of the competition, that's it. You just start again. But things play out differently every time. I don't know how many like playthroughs it will stand up to, but it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
As you were talking about it, I'd kind of forgotten that this wasn't other players, like real people you were playing with.
Oh yeah,
and
it's all just
AI. It sounded like the most anxiety-inducing thing. Like how do you get people to like you, but also like trust you and just that makes more sense.
I can't remember the name of it, but I know like Cammy is been obsessed with this game, and I played a game of it before where you've all like it's sort of like battleships, and you were like sending
the
ships
submarines
from one. It's sort of like that game. You sort of Subterfuge,
yeah.
That's horrible.
Make like slide deals on the side without people knowing to like help or not help other people. It feels a little bit like that.
Yeah, but without as James says, without the anxiety,
without destroying all of your relationships.
I mean, like there's definitely there's like moments where your heart fucking is like in your mouth because like someone that you've spent an entire game being friends with suddenly gets voted out, and you're just like, oh fuck, like I've lost like my ally,
lost an ally, but also
So it's cool. It's really interesting. Speaking of cool of interesting, last week I streamed Hypnospace Outlaw. I mean, I'm not going to talk about this too much. Definitely play it But maybe if you're over a certain age. I feel like when I was playing it and streaming it, and sort of looking at the chat, everyone's like, you've got to be over 30 to really get this, I think, because it's all. So for those who aren't aware, it's a game where essentially you're on this sort of fictional, but very sort of like mid-90s style internet, and it's all about those. Yeah, so you're like a law enforcer, and it's like, right, you'll be given a case where it's like people. So the first case you get is like people have been posting images of like this famous cartoon character, and it's copyrighted, so you have to go and then it's like scouring the internet to find instances of where people have done it, and feeling really terrible because it's just like you find it's like this one woman who's just posted drawings that her students have done of this cartoon character, and you're like, yeah, fuck you, go to prison. And it gets a bit more like, the stuff you do feels a bit more worthy later on. But initially, oh god, am I a bad guy? But yeah, what a funny and weird game. I mean, if you're not going to play it, obviously it's only on PC, then by all means, watch the stream because it was a lot of fun and it was really good. Obviously, going back and forth between people in the chat and stuff trying to figure out what on earth was going on.
Yeah, it is brilliant, and for for people of our age group, I think it's just brilliant. If a lot of GeoCity stuff and MySpace style references and old first websites, it's brilliant.
Yeah, really good stuff. Couple of quick ones. I've been playing Mechstermination Force on the Switch. So this is the one by the developer of the Gunman Clive games, the surprisingly good Gunman Clive games. I think a lot of people overlooked. But
those games are like about 50p on every single store I opened up, and you're like, this has got to be rubbish. And you put it on, you're like, they're really good. Cowboy Mega Man, it's great.
So this definitely feels like it's had like a bigger budget put into it, but it's still kind of the same thing. But it's like it is just boss battles. There aren't levels as such. Each level is just a boss. So you're just one guy with a machine gun, 2D platformer, and there's a giant robot that you have to destroy. It's great. It's really good. I'm trying to think of like a good example. Okay, so like I think it's like the third one you fight is like it's just like a bipedal mech, and it's like they've all got like a series of like weak points that you need to get to. So you have like a machine gun and you have like a baseball bat, and those weak points might only be susceptible to one or the other. So it's a case of like sometimes it's a case of like destroying, observing like a boss's phases and how it moves, and and then like destroying certain bits to either trigger certain behaviors or to like clear. So there's like one where it has like these sort of big things on its wrist, so you have to shoot them off first so that you can then run up its arm and then like smack it on the head with a baseball bat. But yeah, so the bipedal one starts off, it's just a robot with 2 arms, 2 legs, and then you manage to like blow up like a bit of its arm, climb up that, smack it in the head, and then you realise it's got like another weak point like between its legs. So you have to you figure out that shooting one of its feet makes it raise it up into the air for a split second, and then you dash under that, and then you shooting around. He's got all the guns on the insides of his legs, so you shoot them off, climb up his legs, hit him in the crotch with a baseball bat, and then he splits off into so he splits down the middle so that one arm and leg is one creature, and then the other arm and leg is another creature. So you're right, fuck, okay. And then you've got these 2 bosses to deal with, and then you jump on one of those and you destroy that, and then again the limbs just break off. So then you've just got an arm and a leg hopping round, still shooting out, and it's all just mad shit like that. Where you're okay, I'll just have to hit the weak points. That's fine, and then you do it, and it sort of leads to all these really fascinating transformations and. Just constantly keeps you on your toes. It's just really good fun. It's fucking hard. I've turned it off in frustration a couple of times. But definitely, if you like your hard 2D shooters and you like interesting boss battles, it is those. Absolutely. So good.
How close is everyone? Well, not everyone. The things that I've seen and read about it, they say it's like Contra meets Shadow of the Colossus.
That is that
phrase.
Is precisely. Yeah. And that, if you're the sort of person who thinks that sounds cool, you will definitely love this.
It does look good. I watched the video. Look a good time.
Very quick one. Playing more Earth Defense Force, Iron Rain. I'm literally at the second to last mission. The last few missions in that game are so much fun. They're really drawn out battles. It's like you go through like so much of the game. Like I got to the point where like I can call in a mech as like a panic button if I'm struggling with a mission, right? Bring the mech in, probably destroy everything. Mission 1, absolutely fine. Whereas now I'm at the point where it's like I've only got one mech and I need to make sure I call it in when I absolutely need it, because it's not going to last the entire mission, and if I call it in early, I'm fucked. And it's just, like it's gotten really good. I really want to play it in multiplayer. Like I know, Matt, we were threatening
we definitely need to do it.
Yeah, we need to do a stream because I'm really interested. Like, because I mentioned like week before last, how the way the character customization has kind of been flattened out in that all classes use all the same weapons and stuff, but actually in a way that, I mean, it makes those classes less unique, but it opens up more possibilities. And I'm really intrigued about the idea of creating like a support character rather than just one that has to shoot everything. So like if you guys are doing most of the shooting, like I'm using like support items and helping you out and calling in airstrikes and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm like that's like what I'm excited about doing next. But really enjoying it. That's
it's reviewed really well, isn't it? I think
it has. Yeah, it's done okay. I think everyone's
a bit better than I may have suspected, but it's
like everyone's definitely like echoed that sentiment that it's like, this is the game that's supposed to like crack the West. It's not going to do that, I don't think. But like certainly, I can fully recommend it if you've ever been curious about the series. It was a bit weird, like saying the other week, like EDF 5, which only came out a few months ago, was on sale. Which makes it a weird decision for people to make, but actually it's not anymore. So if you're on the fence and you've never tried them before, probably get Iron Rain instead. But yeah. Oh, and it does actually. I was saying like, they've tried to put like a story in, and why did they bother? There's been a couple of bits. I was a little bit sad, which I wasn't expecting. No, just like little bits of dialogue and stuff where you're just like, oh fuck, that's actually quite clever. But yeah, overall, stupid, good fun. That is me. James.
Let's start, I guess, with, I'll call it the big one.
Okay.
I guess for me, as soon as Sekiro came out about 3 weeks ago, I put anything else I was playing down and have basically been playing this as my kind of game I've been focusing on. Mm-hmm. I really like first playthroughs of From games. I get that fear anytime I find a new area or a new enemy type of just, how do I deal with this now? Mm-hmm. And I don't get that from any of the Souls games, Bloodborne anymore, because I know those games so well. Those are comfort games for me now. Mm-hmm. Like the game I put on to relax is I'll just fire up Dark Souls and try a different build or whatever, just because I know where everything is and
because I've seen
how to take everything on.
This has been a thing on Twitter before. People are like, oh my god, how can that be a comfort game? It's horrible. And it's like, no, it's the familiarity of it, and because it's a game that forces you to learn it inside out. I get it.
Yeah. So the first playthrough is the exact opposite of that, where I'll play like half an hour, and I intended to sit down and play like 2-3 hours. I'll play half an hour, get to a natural endpoint, and I'll just be like, that's enough for today. I need to go away and think about what that half hour has been. And it's not like I need to think about it emotionally, or I need to think about even what's happening in the story, because it's fairly straightforward as stories go. There's weird stuff happening, but in terms of the narrative, it's not like I'm piecing it all together from item descriptions.
Yeah.
There's a clear narrative, a clear plot happening, and it's entirely for me been digestible so far. But yeah, it's just that kind of new area, walk in, see an enemy do something I've not seen any other enemy do, and it's just like, right, okay, yeah, tomorrow I'll do that tomorrow, not today. But yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm not good at this game by any stretch, and my first playthroughs are always like 20 hours longer than what people say the kind of top end of the range of your average playthrough is. So, but I've done a good handful of main bosses. There are so many mini bosses in this game.
Yeah.
You start off feeling like it's almost not quite boss rush, but it gets to be boss fight, and then you realize almost all of what you're fighting is mini bosses. They're not actually real bosses, and the delineation's a bit different from Dark Souls or Bloodborne, where it was always health bar on the bottom, that's a boss. Anything else where it's an enemy that doesn't respawn, that's a mini boss. Here it's different. which is good. It keeps me on my toes and keeps me kind of having to force myself out of that mindset of how to play and how to think of a game, a character action game from FromSoft, I guess.
Yeah. Is there anything you've seen in this that you think this could potentially shape like the next Dark Souls or another Bloodborne? Is there anything you think, oh, this is such a great mechanic, or does this tell you about where those games are heading, or do you think it's its own thing that is that it basically?
My immediate reaction is it's its own thing, because I think where this game makes some serious departures from those previous games in such a way that if the next Souls game or Bloodborne 2 or whatever was to just take from this and move on another direction, it would feel too different. Even Bloodborne, that is parry based and is kind of dodge based, this feels different to me in terms of how it plays and in terms of having a named character as your protagonist. That changes the way the world kind of feels and functions to a certain extent. That's not to say there wouldn't be learning takeaways, and I can kind of see that, you know, what From were saying about wanting to craft a single player experience where they did know, here's the character, here's what every player is going to have access to in terms of abilities, in terms of items and stuff like that, and therefore the boss fights can in theory be more tuned to, not there are specific ways to beat this, but they don't have to worry about catering to a magic build or a faith build or whatever. They can kind of the bosses can knock you. They can kind of knock you on your ass a little bit more, and ask you to do certain things to get past them. But even then, I still don't think I'm great at deflecting in this game with the sword. But that hasn't held me back from. I've had bosses where I've one-shotted them first time taking them down, and I've certainly had bosses that when I've gone back, as I said earlier, when I've gone back and watched someone else fight them, I've found easier than they have, just either because I got the knack of it early on, or the way I play, my dodge timing just happened to suit that fight a little bit better. But yeah, it's really interesting to see them play with some stuff you've seen in From games before, like with use of items. This game, like in Dark Souls, it was always kind of maybe there's an item that works for a boss, but probably you're just going to want to rely on whatever your combat style is. Whereas with this, I fought a boss the other day where I happened to have some items in my inventory. I thought, maybe that description means it'll do something here. It'll work in a way that helps me in this fight. And sure enough, yeah, absolutely did. And I've kind of got used to not hoarding items for when I might need them and just kind of using them as and when I see fit,
That's good.
Which is nice.
Do you think you can place this in their other games? I mean, how do you think this ranks where you are now compared to things like Dark Souls and Bloodborne?
So for the past, I guess, 6 years now, I'd have just knee-jerk said Dark Souls was my favourite game of all time, until maybe like the last 12 months I've started to think, you know what, maybe Bloodborne's actually right up there. Something about a new world to explore has just resonated with me. And I might be halfway through the game, maybe more than that, I'm not quite sure at this point. But I'm really enjoying exploring the new world, and that sense of that when I talk about that fear I get when I go into a new area I don't understand yet. That's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. I know that's not what everyone wants to take away with from a game. That's quite stressful, but in these games I really like that, and so it will take a while and a few more playthroughs, I'm sure, to kind of settle on where it goes in the overall order of the series. But yeah. Enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, sure. You said you'd never be able to play this game because of just tiredness and stress and that. That's me with this game.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
It's a killer, man. Like, I want to play it so much, and I love the fact that it is, it's shades of Tenchu, it's shades of Dark Souls, it's shades of Bloodborne, all merged together. I want to play it so much, and I've reached a certain point. It's at the base of a castle, and I'm just like, oh god, this just got a bit harder, and I just can't.
That's a really intense moment as well, because you've got multiple paths you can go along, and every one of them has something that's just like, what is this now? It's so stressful.
You got the general at the top of the stairs. I love taking down the generals because they give you such a good fight. But it's covered in like 9 regular enemies, which aren't too bad to deal with compared to other From games. Like From Software games, like you fight any enemy and they can take you down pretty easily. In this one, for me personally, I found that I could just rinse through these guys quite easily. Yeah. But there's enough mini bosses for you to make sure that you're always aware of your surroundings, because they may just come out of nowhere, or you know where they are vaguely, but they may just catch you by surprise. I think that's why there's so many mini bosses around, because the regular enemies, you can just stab your sword in their neck really easily, and it's just Tenchu, man. I love that noise when you grab them and it's like, you pop the sword in. I sound really like
it sounds sadistic, but it sounds twisted.
It does, yeah. Like it's just so much. It's so satisfying to. As a Tenchu fan of, in the 90s or whatever it was, and been playing it again recently, I was like, Tenchu's not aged very well. But playing like this with the grappling hook and just jumping down on people and just doing some shinobi style moves, I will be playing it again, but whether I make progress or not is kind of irrelevant to my experience at the moment. I just want to play it just to be a little ninja for a moment. If I do happen to hit the next torch, then that's a bonus for me. But at the moment, I'm just so out of energy for this kind of game.
You have to be on all the time. But what I really love about it is, like, any of the bosses I've struggled with, and there's been a handful now where I've had maybe 10, 12 tries before I got them. The time before I get them, as I'm coming to the end of it, I've burned through all my health items, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably not going to do it this time. But I get into a rhythm. I walk in that next time knowing straight off, they're done. Like, they are done, and I will get them into phase 2. I haven't used a single health item. I've just got the rhythm down, and I know where I attack, where I parry, and it clicks in a way that even now I know how to get through every single boss in any of the Souls games or Bloodborne, but I don't feel like I know their movesets like I know this. Like, it almost feels like when you watch a speedrunner and they go into a boss room and take it down in like 30 seconds, and you think, why can't I do that? Whereas here, by the time you're beating a boss, you almost feel like you can't, but you feel like you can. It feels like really, it does feel empowering in a way that you feel like you've earned that win. And it's really, really something.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen to you talk about it makes me want to play a lot more, but because I'm currently playing through Bloodborne, I'm really enjoying that, and like, if I have spare time, I would rather sort of farm vials or echoes, whatever I can do. But I'm excited to get into this more, because even from what little I have played, like, I love the much more complex fighting model, and and the posture stuff. So I'm excited to play this more, and just hearing you talk about it and seeing other things online, it's just. It's really exciting to hear like the passion with with what this game's doing differently to the other FromSoft games.
And it's worth saying there's plenty of people who are big FromSoft fans, big members of this like Souls and Bloodborne communities in terms of streamers and stuff, who just have bounced off this. And whether that's they'll come back to it later down the line, like Darren, you're saying, and it'll really click with them and they'll be in the right mindset or whatever, or whether it's just not going to be for them. But yeah, I sympathise, Matt. It's really hard to pass up being part of the conversation now. But I would absolutely say, stick with Bloodborne, because there's nothing worse than having to try and bounce between two of these games where you're in the rhythm and the frame of mind for playing one, and you go to the other, and you're almost having to relearn how to play it every time.
Exactly,
that's a real difficult thing to do.
It would be doing a disservice to Sekiro if I did that. And it's like I can't read 2 books at the same time, and I don't really want to play 2 FromSoft games at the same time.
No, I can. Yeah, they're sort of almost two similar languages, but subtly different enough that and because they're games that demand such a lot from you. No, I can get
plus
that.
The end game Bloodborne and DLC Bloodborne, you're going to want to to enjoy that, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. Anything else, James?
Awesome.
A couple of quick ones. So Sekiro's taken up my gaming time, but my toilet time has been taken up by, well, quickly, Marvel Puzzle Quest. Look's been out for years. 2013 it came out. And that's a perfect example of effectively a game as a service. It's a free-to-play game. And it's one where it used to be I'd log on and I'd have like maybe a couple of things I could do. Usually would mean that I'd just burn through all of the health packs that you need to be able to continue playing the game. You know what free-to-play games are like. Whereas now I can log on every single day. They've added enough stuff so that if you want to play just multiplayer, if you want to play just single-player stuff, you can do that. If you want to play just story, like missions essentially, you can do that. And there's always something to do. So it is very much just I've got 5 minutes while I'm waiting for a train or whatever it might be. I'll just fire that up. It's puzzle quests. I don't match 3 game. I don't think I'd have to explain that to anyone. But they also throw in stuff to tie in with MCU films and release and stuff like that. They've got Miles Morales with the Into the Spider-Verse suit in, stuff like that. They've got Captain Marvel's on the sort of loading screen at the moment, so they're doing stuff tied into that. And yeah, it's a nice puzzle game to have where you don't have to spend any money on it. Obviously, if you do, you'll get more covers, you'll get higher level covers more quickly, but you can just play it as it is. And it's just a really good example of a game that's over like 6 years now, just built and developed and kept adding, and it's just, I think it's a really cool game still.
Cool.
I might download that, actually.
Yeah, it's tough not to recommend. I wouldn't suggest spending any money on it necessarily unless you feel the need to, but it's just nice and straightforward.
Nice one.
Speaking of not straightforward, so Guildmaster Story is by a guy called Will O'Neill, who made a game called Actual Sunlight, which best thing I can do, and apologies for this self-promotion, is we covered it on Kane and Rince, Volume 7, Issue 311, and talked about this was like a mobile and PC game where it was really simple, you're walking around talking to people, story-based, very narrative-driven game, but it was all about this guy who suffered depression and was a bit of a mess of a human being, and it covered stuff like depression and suicide and just generally this guy being a pretty wretched human being in many ways. Wasn't a very sympathetic character. It's a very hard sort of play given what I've just talked about there. So Guildmaster Story is a match 3 free-to-play game where you get 3 lives, and after your 3 lives are up, you can either wait 10 minutes for a life to regen, or you can watch an advert to get 100 coins and then regen all your lives. So real dirty free-to-play stuff. And that sounds like what the heck's going on. I swear, it's all part of what the narrative of this game is. It's like you play again a wretch of a character who has inherited a business that is worth a lot of money. He's rich, he's well off, he's never worked a day in his life, and loses it all, and then, in spite of being given opportunity to turn his life around, refuses to because he's too busy playing a match 3 game.
Right.
It's I can't work out how many levels of meta game are stacked on this, but it's like 3 or 4 deep, and I'm thinking, am I the mug here? Is this about me being? I don't know, but it's really nicely done. There's literally a devil on his shoulder who appears up partway through the story. There's no real spoilers here because it's all in the dialogue of like level to level. So when you go to play a level, it literally pops up on his phone screen with his calendar will have a notification above it saying, "Here's what you should be doing, but you're going to play this match 3 game, aren't you?" And it's really cool.
I've just gone on the iOS store to look at it, and even in the description it says like easy and free to play. The developer is a writer with no background in puzzle design. He literally does not know how to make levels that trick you out of your money.
Yeah,
It's like quality gem tapping. You've already played a million games exactly like this for a reason, because they never stop being fun.
because there's like I'm looking at it on the Google Play Store as well. There's like a series of screenshots with all headings. So it's got success, exploitation, microtransactions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm installing this now. Thanks, James.
Like every aspect of it just looks like your run of the mill free to play game that is just trying to put obstacles in your way to fleece money out of you one way or another. But it is so much part of the game, and it is free to play. And I've watched a couple of adverts a couple of times just to allow myself to keep playing, which, again, by rights, I should just turn that game off and wait for it to regen. But that's the idea, isn't it? So
cool.
I think it's really smart, really smartly written. So Guildmaster story, definitely recommended.
Nice one.
And last but not least, I'm only mentioning it because the game's coming out next week, and I thought it probably makes sense to mention it now. Mortal Kombat 11 beta was weekend before last, I think. It was basically around the time that Sekiro came out, so it was a real hard sell for me to spend any time with it. Yeah. But I thought, you know what, I'm looking forward to this game. I'll play a few matches. Played one online match and won it, so never played anymore.
Mastered
my 100% win record.
Yeah.
And that's it, I'm gone. Yeah, classic me for in that situation. But I'm really looking forward to this game. It is so over the top in terms of the gore and the just gratuitous nature of the violence. But that, like, the way I heard it best put is, if this game was Mortal Kombat 1 coming out now, there is no way there would not be an absolute uproar about it. But it's built up step by step by step from 20 plus years ago, 25, 6, 7 years ago now, to the point where, like, the upping the ante each time with how over the top it gets, particularly with fatalities, it's kind of accepted, and they're always keen to point out, despite the fact it doesn't always look like it, that it's supposed to be ridiculous violence. It doesn't mean it's not disturbing and off-putting, and do not play this in front of anyone who's going to be squeamish about this stuff. But in terms of what NetherRealm put into their games, in terms of single-player modes, in terms of multiplayer stuff as well, in terms of just having, again, stuff for players who want to play the game any which way, stuff for them to do every time they go into the game, every time they log on, and story modes that are, for my money, far and away better than... I just prefer them, and I think they are the pinnacle of what fighting games have done thus far.
It's been interesting seeing how... Because I know, like, for a while, Mortal Kombat was doing well enough, but still, if you were a quote-unquote proper fighting game person, it was still sort of not really... wasn't there.
Yeah, it was kind of dial a combo-ish, and not animation not up to snuff and stuff.
Yeah, whereas it now seems to have really found its feet, and yet, as you say, there are people who are like, oh no, I just play it for the story, and then that's it.
And I heard, so a couple of weeks ago, I heard Mortal Kombat 10 sold somewhere in the region of like 10, 11 million copies.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Street Fighter 5, like the last I heard of number of copies sold, this was a year or so back, it was like 2.5 million.
Yeah.
There's no comparison. Like, Mortal Kombat far and away is the biggest fighting game in terms of popularity and sales.
Yeah, totally.
That's not justification of it being better or anything like that. It's just, it's a big deal. And so if people don't like it, that's cool, but I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I think NetherRealm have done a really good job with it, and with all their games recently. So
cool.
Yeah, it feels like they really know its place now, like in terms of it being silly and whatnot.
I think, as you say, it's interesting that sort of people worrying less about violence or whatever in games. Like, to me, it feels a lot like there's less insecurity around what games are and what they're capable of, because we've seen, like, but our games are, well, yeah, they are. We know that now. It's not really okay, it's still an interesting thing to talk about, but it's not. I don't know. There's like less of a need to justify like games where they are.
It's not,
which means
it's not so open for not open for debate, because you say there's still angles through which that's interesting. But it's just there's a certain level of acceptance now that there is artistic expression, if nothing else, in the creation of these games.
And I don't look at something like Mortal Kombat, which is, like you say, like, okay, really gory, crass, whatever you want to call it. I don't look at that and think, like, I don't want people seeing that and thinking that's what I like, because that's just not really a problem anymore. Like, I can talk about the things I enjoy, and that is, like, separate, and that's fine. It doesn't really,
Yeah, all the stuff that's on the front page of gaming news in, say, Forbes or wherever, or Guardian or whatever, is not going to be the stuff that you think, do I have to justify this again? Do I have to go on, the defensive again almost?
Yeah. So, and equally, like, obviously, you get to a point where it's like, well, yeah, it's really gory, but I can sit you down and explain to you why it's interesting and good. Like something like, like Doom, the recent one.
For sure.
When that came out, and it's like, to a casual observer, it's like, oh, God, this is horrific. It's like, no, it's actually a really smart and very fun game. Right, is it question time? I know we've been going. If you listen on Dash Radio, this ended 10 minutes ago, but
it is over. You're now hearing adverts.
Yeah, should we just?
We haven't got massive questions.
Yeah, we can blast through them. I think. Yeah.
If you want to email us, it's podcast@thecomputergameshow.com. Ben Monroe has emailed, hey fellas, I recently picked up a Game Boy Advance SP, GBA SP, and a copy of Pokemon Fire Red along with it. This is the first time I've owned a GBA, so I wanted to ask for recommendations on any games outside of Pokemon I should be playing. Now, I absolutely love my GBA SP.
I was going to say, man, how long have you got?
Now, I mean, like, I remember the Tony Hawk games being excellent. Now, I like them. I don't know if they're widely regarded as being excellent, but I absolutely love Tony Hawk's. I mean, the second one was brilliant on GBA SP.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good, the Tony Hawks. They were isometric versions of the PS1 games, right?
They're bloody brilliant.
They were good fun.
Now, WarioWare, there's a WarioWare game on GBA I played.
There's two.
Okay, right. Is it Twisted? Is that the one? What's
Twisted
the one that
didn't come out
includes
over
the
LA.
paper airplane game?
That's the first one.
Yeah, that.
But I think Twisted also had a version of it where you turn the paper airplane with a. If you play WarioWare games long enough, they all come back on themselves anyway. Yeah. So whichever one you mean,
was Twisted the one that officially never came out here because it had like mercury in it, and it was
mercury in it. Yeah, had poison. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to skim. So I've got a Game Boy Advance with a flash cart in it.
Naughty.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just going to skim through and recommend a few things. So, Go Beckham Adventure on Soccer Island.
It's a good game.
Fucking great game. And like, even once you get past the fact that it's literally a 2D platformer where he plays David Beckham kicking a magic football around.
Soccer Kid or Marco Magic Football on the Mega Drive.
It's just great. Astro Boy, Amiga Factor. Again, just really good 2D platformer. What else have we got? Contra Advance. That's a really good version. I mean, a lot of them are just very good versions of like SNES games. What were they called? That weird series that Nintendo did of like small. Was it like Bit Generations?
Oh, what are they called?
No, it's Bit something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they're like fancy puzzle games.
Digidrive is one of them, which is like honestly one of my favourite puzzle games of all time. I think you can get it on the DS.
Good,
I mean, all the Donkey Kong Country ports are good. Dot Stream is another one. You can tell I'm going alphabetically here.
Mario Kart.
Oh God, yeah.
Super Circuit. That's one. Yeah, that was awesome.
Good one. Golden Sun. Good game.
Gunstar Future Heroes.
X versus Sever.
Oh, really?
I mean, the GBA, right? The GBA had a great lineage of making first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Like, it had so many. It had Doom, it had the X vs. Sever, it had a Duke Nukem game at one point, right? And it just had so many of them. Like, the GBA was so weird because it kept pushing boundaries that no one was really asking for it to be pushed. It's like, we can do this 3D game on this GBA.
Shooter on the GBA, why not?
Should you?
Is X versus Sever better than the film then? It's got to be, right?
I mean, yeah, I can imagine.
I never watched the film, but
I've heard things.
I know the game wasn't great.
It's got Antonio Banderas in it, and
Lucy.
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 Saber Wolf by Rare. I mean, I'm in the credits again, but it's a very good a puzzle game. It's good, man, right? You run from left to right and you get the treasure from Saber Wolf, but you have to use the animals who are like platforms and bouncy castles and kind of weird kind of... I can't think of the word, but they're all variants of animals and they do stuff in the level. So when you're running back, you got to think, right, if I need a bouncy bear here to get over the mountain, and maybe I can run back from Saber Wolf quicker. It's really good. I don't hear anyone talking about it.
Mario Tennis on the GBA is wicked. It's like got a full like story mode where you're just like a kid who starts going to this tennis academy, and it's really weird. And there's all like interesting RPG stuff. So Golf Story borrows a lot from it, for example.
Yeah. Advanced Tour, right?
That's what it's called. Ninja 5.0 is fucking amazing. I mean, it might be called Ninja Cop, depending on, I forget which region's which. It's like either here or in America, one's Ninja 5.0 and one's Ninja Cop. Just fucking brilliant 2D platformer, swinging around, slashing bad guys, chucking ninja stars, preventing bank robberies as a ninja. Really good.
It's got to be Ninja Cop here, right? Because 5.0 is an American term for
Well, I mean,
police.
They both are, really. I don't know.
I guess, yeah, Cop is, but it's...
Pokemon Pinball, really good. I think if you actually really like your pinball games, it's probably like laughably childish. It's definitely really slow compared to most pinball games I've played, but yeah, really good. What else? Oh, Rhythm Tengoku, the original. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean, I could keep going. I should probably stop.
There's the GBA is amazing.
Two more. Super Puzzle Fighter 2, fucking brilliant. And TMNT, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. It's a 2D beat 'em up. It's from the people who now fuck what they called. Can't remember. Never mind. But they did the Scott Pilgrim game and a bunch of other cool stuff. Tribute. That's it. That was like, I think that was like their first game. But they made it like as part of Ubisoft and then left and started doing their own thing. It's just
so it's not a port of Turtles in Time.
It's a brand new, really good, just like 2D.
Oh my god,
brawler.
I missed out on this.
Yeah, you can also get Yoshi's Island on the GBA if you want. It is a fine version of it.
So I never had a GBA, but even the SP could play regular Game Boy games, right?
Yeah.
Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. That'll come back later.
Good answer, mate.
That's going to come back later.
Yeah. So yeah, enjoy.
Cool. I mean, it's got a massive library.
Really has.
That's all you need to
Good
say.
fucking console.
Yeah, enjoy that. That's it for emails. If you want to tweet us, it's at Computer Game Pod on Twitter. James Middleton at Wise Mids on Twitter. What's your dream place to do a live show from?
The Lake District.
What?
Well, that was the holidays question. Do you remember? I just really like the Lake District.
That's where Sean's going.
If I could get everyone,
every answer's going to be.
If I can get everyone to Ambleside for a live show, that'd be wicked. We'd have a great time.
That would be good.
Got to be something in VR, surely. You got to do it in Rec Room or something stupid like that.
Yeah, or Second Life.
No, don't. That'll give me horrible flashbacks. I did a Second Life thing at university, and it was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. I tried to do.
Oh, we should do that.
I tried to do a live musical, like an improvised live musical performance, but where like we were all just in Second Life and we were all doing it remotely. Except I was on a stage in the fucking Truman Brewery in London, like sweating to death because it just wasn't really working. It was awful. Still got a degree though.
Oh my god, no! But we should absolutely do that in Second Life. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to plan that.
We're going to do a live show. I mean, now that you've mentioned it, that is actually really funny. We should do that.
So I'm never going to be on Final Games. I've resigned myself to that now. But my default answer to where do I want to be sent is Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. I'm not going to get to give that answer, so I'm giving it here. My dream place to do a live show from is Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild.
That makes sense.
I think that's just a really, really, really nice place.
Yeah.
Shame about the frame rate, though.
Can't wait to do that in VR. It's going to be
cut.
Sixkiller at Renegade Sixkiller on Twitter. Between Jedi Fallen Order, the Mandalorian TV series, and Episode 9, how excited are you all for the upcoming Winter of Star Wars?
I can't fucking wait, mate. It's going to be the best fucking Christmas.
I'm pumped, and I'm also one, the new trailer for the movie looks amazing. I can't wait. But the fact they've also said they're going to take a break now. Get this out.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian TV series, I mean, that's going to be a reason to subscribe to that Disney streaming service alone, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen.
I'm very excited
the
for Star Wars.
Mandalorian trailer sort of leaked, but only on like cam footage. I've not seen it yet. But everyone says it looks amazing. Yet. So
yeah, I haven't seen any footage of that actually myself, but just everything I've heard about it and just yeah. But I'm really excited for the game as well. So it's gonna be a good old. Are you two? Are you into? James, are you into Star Wars or you're not a Star Wars man?
I'm putting on my James hat here. So, The Last Jedi was the first time in a little while I kind of felt completely enthused about Star Wars watching that film. And then the fallout from that film afterwards was just, I don't want to be around that anymore.
I know what you mean.
I don't want to. It's just like, how tiresome was that?
But equally, can you not see? I don't know, like the way I sort of look at it is like, yeah, but I sincerely loved that and like that film, and that in itself is an act of defiance against the people who are like, it's got women in it.
Yeah, and equally well, if my reaction is right, I'm just having nothing to do with Star Wars, then that's hardly supporting Rian Johnson and all the people that took, especially the women who acted in that film and took so much stick because, let's face it, they're women. That's the only reason it was. And that's not to take away from people who didn't like The Last Jedi. That's fine. Absolutely. Difference of opinion, whatever. But it was just, it felt so tough to be someone who liked that film in the few months after.
Yeah, I remember, like, it's one of the few films.
And that's someone who watched it, not made it, you know?
Yeah, it's one of the few films where I've had to, like, not argue with people at work, but, like, a guy where it's like, oh, I was really disappointed, though, when you find out that, like, like, Ray's parents just aren't important. It's like, no! That's the whole fucking point.
That's everything. That's the point.
Yeah, it's like it's the whole, like, Star Wars always made this big deal about, like, your lineage. It's like, no, fuck who your parents were. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, whatever.
Anyone can be Spider-Man. Anyone can be a Jedi. Exactly.
As long as you got the midichlorians.
How about you, Darren?
Yeah, man, I prefer Star Wars games as opposed to the films. I've watched all the films. I do like them, but I've never gone into like zealous obsession with the series. But yeah, I'm more excited for Fallen Order than I am for any of the other Star Wars bits and bobs. But I will be consuming them all because it is good fun.
Absolutely. Luke Summerhays, what are the best and worst boss fights in games?
Oh, this isn't a quick one. We could be
worst is something in Metroid Prime. Or Metroid Prime 2, because that game on the GameCube is a kick in the nuts if you're not ready for it.
What's the shit one in Dark Souls that everyone hates? It's one of the Lord Soul ones.
Bed of Chaos.
Yes, Bed of Chaos.
Yeah, that's down as my worst here.
Like, I can't even remember it. That's the I mentioned, like, there's bosses I summoned for and bosses I sort of cheesed, but I can still tell, like, I can still describe the fight. Bed of Chaos.
Yeah. It's always a little bit of a worry with any Souls bosses where it doesn't reset the progress when you go back in.
Yes.
That's kind of the thing. You get them down to the last phase and then you go back in, you're right back at the beginning. Yeah. When you get to the last phase and it doesn't reset, that's kind of a nod to maybe the fact that they know people are going to hate doing this if they have to do it again.
Totally. I didn't hate that boss at all. I mean, I knew I had issues with it, but yeah, I did not hate that. I hate the ones which are meant to be easy, which I then failed at.
I saw you fall into pits a lot doing that, Matt.
I did, but
I
like, everyone's like,
you didn't have a moment where you were like,
you can do it with your eyes closed. And I was like, why am I dying to this thing? That was way more annoying. I was like, no, just go to the back and it'll kill itself, basically. It's like, easiest boss. Whenever on Bloodborne, any of these sort of games, and I was like, oh, brilliant, next boss, easiest boss in the game, you will have no troubles whatsoever.
That's
2 hours later, I'm like, what's happening here? Why am I still stuck?
Shadow of the Colossus has some of the best boss fights and also the very worst one at the end.
Yep, agreed.
I hated that. I only played it through recently on this remaster. I couldn't get into it on the PS2 because of frame rate and the controls were completely alien to me at the time. But now, as a more sensible grown up, I managed to wrap my head around the controls and the frame rate was fine. Got to the last one and I'm like, what have they done to this game? Like, it hasn't hurt my overall opinion of the game, but this last one is just, jeez. But the flying ones and one when you get picked up by a giant bird, it's just
when you
it's brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, this is definitely like the least original opinion ever. When you first figure out that you are supposed to jump on the bird and you do it and it works, and you just
it's true.
Screaming.
It's so good.
Unbelievable. Best boss fight. Sorry, go on, James.
I was just going to say other best boss fights for me, or favourite boss fights, because maybe best... I have issues with semantics and words and stuff. But anyway, favourite boss fight. It's like when the theme of what they mean narratively gels with the theme of what they represent mechanically. So like Artorias in Dark Souls. Perfect example of this is a decaying warrior that is still a spectacular fight, but you are going in fighting him at his absolute weakest, and he is still smacking you about the place. And it's just like, that's thematically just really well done. Bob Barba's fight from DMC. It's just, thematically, it's a spectacle. It's technically still interesting, I think, to fight. And it's one of those, some boss fights, you think you don't pay attention to what's going on in the background because you're so focused on what you're doing in the moment. That's one where I couldn't help but take in all of that, and that was really cool. That was the news channel, like Fox News style fight.
I was just going to say very last couple from God Hand. So you fight, I forget their names. Sure. Is it Azrael? The guy who's got he's got the devil hand. So that's just brilliant because it's that thing that Clover and now Platinum do really well, where it's like, here's someone who's got the same tools as you,
just like you,
and and it's like a proper sort of mirror match. And then the one after that is like kind of less interesting in that regard, but still just like an amazing test of everything you've learned up to that point. Like I was like when I beat him, like I felt like fucking electrified. It was ridiculous.
And because of God Hand, it's your version of that character as well, because you've got all your own combos dialed in.
Absolutely. Right, what else, Matt?
Yeah, okay. Matt King at Clash of Rays. I broke my elbow at the weekend, so won't be able to hold a pad properly for a few weeks at least. What games, if any, do you think it would be possible to play one-handed in the meantime, preferably PS4 or Switch? I had to ask him how. So he said, at work on Saturday, filming at a skate park, I tripped on something and my forearm slammed into the concrete. It turns out when you shear off the tip of one of the bones in your elbow, the audible crack is particularly loud.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Why did you ask him?
I've done that with my ankle.
Okay, brilliant. I had to ask how.
Yeah,
So,
it does.
Sheared the end off of the knobbly bit on your ankle that sticks out. I sheared the end off that. Coming down out the back of a truck as I was moving house onto, like when they resurface the road, you get all that loose. Scree pebble stuff onto that, just turned my ankle and it just cracked so badly.
God.
And,
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I thought it was an interesting question. I mean, like, are there any games you can really play one-handed? I was
going to say,
Bayonetta on Switch.
Like, obviously,
Wave Race 64.
I mean, obviously, people manage, right? So, I mean, you're asking the wrong people here, I suppose. But, I mean, certainly, my first suggestion would be, like, anything that isn't particularly time-based. So, like, any, like, turn-based strategy games is probably a good idea. Yeah. But even so, is there then, like, an annoying amount of, like, moving your hands?
Swapping hands from one side of the controller to the other. I mean, Bayonetta's on Switch, I presume the one...
That's true, it's got the single stick mode.
So that's a good one.
It's a good shout.
Did the Room games make it onto Switch?
Oh, I thought they were didn't one of... I think the first one did, right?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Again, that's something that's slow. There's no time-based stuff. You can just kind of explore the environment there. That's really cool.
Touch, isn't it? That I was banging on about Gems of War the other week from the Puzzle Quest devs. Like, that's perfectly good, and I'm pretty sure you can play that entirely with the touchscreen as well. Just tapping on it, so that'd work.
There's also tons out there.
So I presume part of the problem is like holding both arms around a controller. That may not be a comfortable position, but with a Switch you can hold the Joy-Con separately. So even if your arm's like crooked in a certain position, you could maybe still have
that's true. Yeah,
Joy-Con in your hand.
Up.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know exactly the restrictions, but that might be worth thinking about.
Failing that, Beat Saber. Sean Thomas, what are your hopes for Labo and VR on Switch going forward? And do you think the Joy-Con updates needed to play hint at ports of Wii Plus games are coming? I wanted to ask this question. So, what are these Joy-Con updates? I mean, I presume it just needs an update to play certain of the VR things. But
it's literally that. Yeah.
Have they gone into more detail about what these updates do exactly?
No, I'm guessing it's because you put the Joy-Cons in various, Joy-Con holders within the Labo, the kits. It needs to be a bit more precise in, what you're doing with them, because it requires a lot of precision.
Yeah.
And it needs to feed off the reflective stickers that you put on the Labo as well. There's probably... I think this question is kind of reaching for something that they kind of dream for.
Because I think wanted them to put like Wii Sports and stuff on Switch.
So the problem obviously is you don't have the bar under the TV to be able to sort of calibrate the movement to.
No,
don't the Joy-Cons not need that though?
In theory, but maybe this just makes that more viable.
Right? Yeah.
With the update.
But the whole Labo thing does have a bit of a Wii Sports vibe going on, or Wii, it has that kind of general Wii vibe about it. So it wouldn't surprise me, but knowing Nintendo, no one knows Nintendo, do they? So who knows what they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean,
I would be all over it if they release any of the Wii Sports games.
I was going to say, we've said this before, but like Wii Sports U was fucking great, and no one played it because it was on the Wii U. So
it was great.
Yeah, like that. I mean. You could totally get away with just re-releasing that. But,
yeah,
definitely.
Switch Sports, come on, it's we need it.
Yeah,
we need it. We have Phil Waters as the last question. What's the best weapon you start with in a game?
I think I've got a cheat answer to this, because is the gravity gun not still powered up at the beginning of Half-Life 2 Episode 1? Because if so, I mean, done.
Shut up, that's not an answer.
That counts.
I mean, surely not,
Episode
because
1.
otherwise you just smash through the entire game if it was.
I know it gets decharged at some point, but I can't remember. If it's still charged up at the beginning of the episode, then done.
Okay.
Otherwise, the wrench in Bioshock, because it's just good fun throughout the game.
But it gets better.
I
mean, I guess that counts.
I'll tell you what, I recently played through GoldenEye on the N64 because I've got a thing coming up soon. And I found that the best weapon in the game for that is just the original PP Doodah gun that you get given from the start. It's brilliant. You can just rinse through the whole game, and that it's like, anyway, I'm not going to talk about GoldenEye.
It just fires as fast as you can pull the trigger, right? So you can go,
exactly, and it just rinses through ammo. And as long as you have accuracy down, you're safe.
When you first fire up Titanfall, it's a multiplayer game, but stick with me. You get the pistol right off the bat. Done.
Oh, the auto pistol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, in a similar vein, it was so Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Is it the M16 you start with? I think it's the M16.
Yeah,
that's like perfectly viable forever. Like, you go through, like, you level up all the way, you unlock all the guns, all right, brilliant, and then you prestige and you think, oh, this is going to feel really shit because I'm going back to the very first gun, and just you carry on, and you're like, no, this is great, this is still like one of the best weapons in the game.
I've got the actual answer. It's the level 1 gun in Anthem, isn't it? That's the best gun in the game.
I mean, that literally is the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew I could do the comedy somewhere.
Got there right at the end.
Amazing. Right, is that us?
Okay,
that's it for questions.
Thank God.
Very quickly,
go on.
Scottoma said, I listened to an old TCGS where Dave was compared to Wario. What Mario characters would the rest of the team be? All right, Wario is my de facto, because of 6 golden coins, my de facto Mario villain, so I always identified with him. Right. And the other one, I always play Toad in Mario Kart, so I either get to be Dick Dave or Dick Donald, and that seems like a really shitty choice.
That's a good point. Yeah. Thing is, I think Sean, you can be key too. You're into photography.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I'll be
Peach,
Toad.
obviously.
I'll be Peach.
Farley's Toad.
You're the egg that fires out. You're definitely the egg that fires out a bird. Just your head on the side, wow, and then your head all flies out.
Farley, who most enjoys having their dick repeatedly stamped on?
Well, I'd rather not.
Definitely
Farley, obviously it's Farley.
Yeah.
He's well into that shit.
Yeah, let's stop doing this. Thank you for listening, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Do you want to plug?
Sorry, it went long.
Kane and Rinse? No. All right, fine.
No.
Leon's going to absolutely destroy you when he hears this.
He does anyway, it's fine.
I've been fired like 30 times, I think.
And the rest.
30 times this week.
But yeah, thanks for listening. It's been a long one, but I think it's been good. See you next week. And what are we doing next week, Matt? Is Farley still off, or is he back?
No, he should be back.
Oh, he's actually back. Okay, cool. Nice one.
I mean, that in my calendar, his annual leave runs out on the 19th.
Oh, fair enough. Right, he's run out. Okay.
The China Chronicles.
Unless he rings you to extend it, he's running out of days. He better be back.
Cool. All right. Cool. See you next week with the full original crew, apart from Dave, obviously. Oh, he's going to fucking murder me for that.
The full original new crew, yeah.
New and improved
full current team.
What this?
Current squad. Christ.
Yeah.
Good night.
That's outrageous.
Thanks for letting us be natural. Cheers.
Goodbye.
God, I'm very tired.